Welcome to Resident Evil.
All right, that's it. Thanks for coming by. All right, see you guys next week.
The podcast is back from the dead, and that it's a regularly scheduled weekly thing with no gaps recently.
We have had no gaps for a while. I
don't
notice.
remember.
Yeah, wait. Didn't we have a gap last
we
week?
did.
We were here last week.
We did have a gap at the beginning of
last week.
month,
We talked about Elden Ring. Remember?
Oh, that's right. That's right.
We tried not to talk about Elden Ring.
Ryan asks if you could move to any country and bring anyone with you. Where'd you go?
And you can bring anyone with you, like no stipulation. Does it matter? Is it like a living person or like any person through time?
Oh, we're going directions with this one. I just thought it was funny because I'm like, wow, I wonder what country Andrew could possibly say. Say the thing.
Andrew, have a plan?
No, I'm sorry. I was thinking of my question of like if it could be anybody in time, and I thought it would be really funny to.
You just time paradox somebody.
Yeah, I just thought it'd be really funny to take Teddy Roosevelt to like the Middle East because there's just nothing he wants there. Like all the trees are gone. It's just desert everywhere. And he's just like, why? What do I do here? What do you want from me? I hate it here. Like
Andrew, if you could move to any country and take anybody in history, alive or dead, you would take Teddy Roosevelt to the Middle East just to torment the dude.
I think specifically, I'd probably take him specifically to like, I think. Wait, hold on. I don't want to be wrong.
I mean, originality points.
For sure.
Spite just overwhelmed his weakness.
No, you know what? I want to take Hitler to Pompeii.
What?
What would be the alternative here?
You're not traveling in time. Wait, or do you mean
right, I'm not traveling in time. Never mind.
Yeah, no. You're moving there, so
yeah.
Like mutually assured destruction is pretty strong
Hitler's
here.
coming with me.
Like I'm taking Hitler to a nuclear testing facility.
No, that's too boring though. Well, we're just gonna like sit there and have tea in that little house that gets blown away in the testing.
And that's why nobody knows what happened to him. He just vanished from the timeline and then he exploded in that test.
Tell me about my empire. Look out the window, Hitler. And like he just watches as it burns away. Okay, so it'd be definitely hold on. Okay, so it'd be definitely Iran that I would bring Teddy Roosevelt to, because Afghanistan's too close to Pakistan, which does have green. And I don't want him to see any kind of green. He has to be completely isolated from any trees. I don't want a single forest near the man. I want him to suffer as much as possible in a land so unbearably uncomfortable for him. That's what I wanted. So it'd be me and him going to Iran. I wouldn't mind because I love the desert. I would have a great time. I'd be hanging out, eating some good ass hummus and
some good ass
really
hummus.
good ass hell yeah.
Hell
yeah. I'd be having a great time. Roosevelt would just be screaming the whole time, just screaming on a horse. I imagine. I don't know where.
Where'd you get the horse?
It's fucking Teddy Roosevelt. He probably just he just has a horse attached to him. I don't know. He probably just can summon it like a video game. Like.
Oh yeah, yeah, basically.
But
sort of a whistle. There you go.
That would be fun.
It's kind of funny because you're thinking of the most uncomfortable place for Teddy Roosevelt, and I was thinking of where would be the most comfortable place, and probably like a place with like as much forest as possible, but not too.
Oh, I guess north. I could take him to Libya. That's like absolutely nothing. Oh wait, there's one grass. Wait,
there's one grass.
I wasn't
looking at the
I don't think
Maps?
that's real. I think I'm looking at Google Maps, but I think that's an oasis. Like I don't think it's real. I think it's like a mirage that Google Maps.
It's a mirage on Google Maps
itself. Yeah, I think Google Maps is a mirage. But everything else about this also looks equally as perfect. There's a little bit of green at the top by the ocean, but I'll forgive that because water makes grass grow, and that just happens. But it's not enough for like trees. It looks like it's just grass. Does it?
Yeah.
Grass? It looks like it's just grass, no trees. So it's fine. Libya is also great. most of the northern Africa is also great, except Morocco. Fuck Morocco. It has too many trees. But everywhere
Does it?
else, yeah, Morocco's got a bunch of trees at the northern tip of it when it's trying to do a little cute kiss with Spain. Do little
Oh.
kissy lips with Spain at the top. And
And
that's too many
Med
trees.
Medilla and Ceuta, I believe, would be the
Yeah, but
big
everywhere
2.
else in northern Africa also equally a great choice. And uh yeah, not Chad or Mali though. Chad and Mali also have too much green. Sorry, Chad, Mali. Uh, but yeah, everywhere else also looks good. I don't actually know what kind of food they have, so I don't know if I would enjoy it. But I would imagine it's probably pretty good food. If it's, I
Unfortunately
don't
for
know,
Chad,
as long as
in Chad, it's not a lot of food. It's an extremely
well, it's not
impoverished
about the
country.
it's about the quantity. It's about the quality. I don't care how much food I'm getting as long as it's good when I eat it.
Here.
I mean, hummus
I
isn't
just
a lot of food. It's just a snack, but
Can you survive on hummus alone?
I probably could. Why not?
A little bit.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
If
It's you're
if it's
like
well
one step
balanced.
away from a crepe, right? You just like
What?
maybe
Crepe?
you put some greens and on the flatbread and roll it up, and there you go. You got a really
Hummus
unpleasant
isn't a
crepe.
bread.
No, I'm saying you could spread the hummus on the flatbread like it was sour or not sour cream. What is it? Not is it sour cream that they put in a crepe?
It's butter. If we can put butter
Butter.
on the bread.
Okay. Butter. Whatever you put in a crepe. It's
I
just
don't know
like
what a
that,
crepe
but
is,
instead you
but
put the
I
hummus in
understand.
there,
What?
and then you
Yeah.
It's
roll
like a
up the
pancake.
flatbread.
Why would you put sour cream in a what? Do people do that? I'm terrified.
I don't know what a crepe is or sour cream.
What? Oh.
Okay, I'm sorry, we got really off track. Realistically, I think I would probably either obviously pick Japan or
That's what. Yeah, so that's all I was expecting. I didn't expect to find you have a fucking
Yeah.
like blood feud with Roosevelt today.
Oh,
I might also take Denmark. I might also want to live in Denmark because I think there's enough like the way they structure their cities is very similar in that it feels nice to be in that city. It doesn't feel like the city wants you to leave ASAP, like
Oh,
every American
man.
city feels like.
One of those
Like,
European countries. One of those European countries that has cities you can walk in.
Yeah. That sounds great. And
That'd be
I don't know
nice.
how any of the other ones are. I don't know if like Norway, Sweden, Finland are like that. I just know Denmark is like that, and I would probably appreciate
Yeah.
that.
I
I don't
I
know
was
what kind of food
thinking
they have either, but I'm assuming it's good food. And I mean, they're happy in Denmark, so it must not be bad food.
the Danish famous for
I
their
would have
good
to do
food.
more research, but yeah, there's probably a good country to choose somewhere in there.
Portugal, we have cakes and walkable cities. In
For
a
me, it's
little
like,
bit.
does the question also include language? Like, do you get to just know the language? Because that's obviously a barricade for a lot of places you could move to. Are you going to deal with like years of not being able to function very well?
Well, you just say, I want to move to this country with a translator with me.
That's just a personal translator that has nothing else to do all day.
Yeah. Want to spend all day just stuck at home? It's fine. A translator will be there.
Yeah.
Just
I like to
whenever.
imagine the translator isn't with you per se. The translator's like at home
Just won't
enjoying
stop
their life,
calling
but
them.
always on the
Always
phone
on
with
call.
them. Like
Yeah.
you have to always be on the phone with them.
Your personal
Nah,
translator
it's-
that's just sick of your shit.
But they have to. They have to.
They're contractually obligated.
Yeah,
You're
these are
just
the
reading
rules.
a menu at a restaurant off to them, and you're like, "What is that?" It's like, dude, they're all sandwiches. They're just different types of sandwiches. Like, I don't know why this is so hard for you. Like,
Why
It's
do they
like
call
you-
it different things?
Like you want a lifetime supply and you're taking it very seriously.
Yeah. I was thinking a Nordic country as well, but just for the forest. I'm not a big city person. And I just want like a cabin in the woods sort of thing. And as long as there's hot water and not a lot of snow, I'm good to go.
what would be good
So-
for that? Is there what is a northern European country that has like a lot of land to base ratio? Like, I feel like a lot of
Well, Sweden
at
is
least
good
my
for that.
impression. Is it? Well,
Sweden-
Sweden also has a
yeah.
lot of mountains, though, right? Like that's kind of you're also
Yeah,
pushing
yeah.
into some pretty rough territory here. You're like going into the mountain man level.
but it's yeah, it's just an enormous country for only 10 million people. So there's a lot. I mean, at the end of the day, any country is like that. As long as you find a place, like even the United States, I'm sure has a lovely place by a forest with hot water and not a lot of snow. So
Not a
yeah,
lot of
that's actually
snow.
yeah.
Not a lot of
The thing
snow is
is,
pretty tough.
really, oh, that's okay.
I mean,
Well,
it depends on like unless you're like really okay with absolutely nothing, because you can go to like I don't know Wyoming, where there's nothing. It's just flat all the way through.
yeah,
but
I'm okay with that. The problem is the internet situation. So in the US, that might
well,
be
then
an
you
issue.
can't live in the United States anywhere. I don't know
Yeah.
what you're expecting here.
In Sweden,
you
it's
can't- yeah.
like magic. They have all the internet in Sweden. It's incredible. But the thing is, like even the premise of going to a country is kind of complicated because, like you can probably find in most countries the same thing that you're looking for in any other country, unless you're there for being close to certain like I don't know landmarks or certain people in particular. Like I personally see any country as I'm fine as long. I mean, it's the things that I have access to. That's what matters, and also temperature. That don't get very hot or very cold. It's okay, but hot don't. I'm okay with not too hot because there comes a time where you can't take any more clothes off because there's no more.
I don't even know why you would take clothes off in the first place.
Because not everybody has air conditioning, like the Americans that have air conditioning everywhere, including in middle of winter, because their heating is so powerful that they need air conditioning to offset the heating.
What are you talking about? I was perfectly fine. I stayed in an Airbnb in Dubai that did not have air conditioning that worked.
Did you just say we use air conditioning to offset our heaters?
Yeah, we're just always running heaters by default. We can't turn them off. As soon as they get built into a building, they just keep running. We can't figure out why.
On full tilt, and then just aircon up and aircon down. That's just how it goes.
There's a lot of Europeans that get angry in my comments when I even mention the idea that that air conditioning exists.
Why?
They get weirdly superior because that's what people do. They're just weirdly shitty about anyone from any other country. They like to feel smug about things, and that's just on the list. Is like Europeans get smug about any form of air conditioning on a regular basis, and in just an exhausting way. It's like I don't think you fucking understand how hot California is all the time.
I mean, they can. It's fine. They can admit that they don't have the money.
I live in a country that's mostly by the ocean.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
I have a regulated atmosphere.
So it doesn't get hot. It doesn't get cold. It doesn't get anything. It's just always a comfortable 60 degrees every day.
The closer you are to the ocean, the more regulated the temperature always is year round. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what it do because the water holds temperature.
Yeah.
So it's a soak in both directions. So the hot days are less hot and the nights are less cold than it is when you're in, say, the desert that is most of this country.
Yeah, but how'd you go to the beach when it's not 90 degrees?
I don't go to the beach.
The beach is usually not 90 degrees.
What?
Yeah. Beaches are.
Wait, people swim in the water when it's not 90 degrees?
The water's even colder most of the time.
Well, yeah, that's fine. That's the point. The point is that it's so blistering hot that you go and swim in the beach or swim in the ocean.
Yeah, no, I've been to Pismo year round and stuff like that, and like, yeah, beaches are not usually hot. You got to really go there during like there's too many people week, when everyone coalesces simultaneously. Like that's a bad time. There's too many fucking people. Who wants to do that?
Yeah, the beaches, the ocean beaches specifically, the advantage is that they are a lot colder than like river beaches, because it's just I anytime I go to the beach, it's always river, because the ocean sort of not, but yeah, anytime I pass by a beach in the ocean, yeah, it's usually a lot colder than everywhere else. I don't live near or like right next to the ocean, but close enough that I have, I sometimes I go by and it's very, very obvious. that it's colder.
Hmm.
Like it'll be the peak of summer everywhere else, 35 degrees, and it's like people just melting away. Go to the ocean, 25 and windy. It's like, oh my god,
are Europeans like indignant about people in like the Middle East who need air conditioning?
I don't know.
Do you think they're like smug?
I think they're usually just racist.
Are they smug about the idea that somebody could live in a climate that's not their climate? I mean, we can go live there. Do you want all of us to come live over where you guys are? We can do it. We can take all 300 million of us and just go cram it into like what shitty coastal city you live in. Let's do it. Are you guys ready for that? Let's mass exodus over to wherever all the Europeans think we're supposed to live. We'll do it.
I find it weird because
don't threaten us.
There's a distinction between having air conditioning like on a personal basis and just or using it whenever, but I think I get the impression that the culture in the US is a lot more thermostat based, basically. So if it's cold, you go and mess with the thermostat. If it's hot, you go there as well. Here in Europe,
if you're lucky.
I get the if you're you need to have
some places just like some places literally don't have air conditioning built in. Oregon and Washington are one of the suffering that problem thanks to global warming, is that it's getting hotter every year, but a lot of those apartment buildings weren't built with air conditioning because it wasn't a problem like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And so it's fun. It's just
fun as in
California is unique in that it is, like he said, an awful hellscape. It is constantly either on fire or on fire. There's no other option here. And so you just have to have air conditioning to survive most of the time. And the times that you don't are these rare little blessings that exist just to remind you that there is such a thing as like cold weather, but it's not for you. It's to punish you for not going and living in those places, which you can't do because you can't afford it anyways because you live in California. But
it's a weird state where like Lake Tahoe and Yosemite and Death Valley are all in the same state, which is itself larger than many countries.
And those are all on the border, like all on the border of California, because they're all not anywhere near where the people are aggregated, which is the center. Valley. Yeah.
50% farmland and 50% wasteland.
I'm gonna settle on a Nordic country like Sweden, next to a nice forest and in a nice place and like a cabin in the woods sort of thing, and a burly person that would shovel the snow for me when the snow comes.
What?
That's the person I take with me.
Just a burly person, like just some burly guy who shovels.
Yeah, it's just burly shoveler. Let's go.
Manifests to shovel the snow.
That's my answer for $50 million. Let's do it. No, wait, how much is it?
I feel like he probably just comes with the house at that point. I think you just bought a guy's house and he's just living with you.
Like, I mean, yeah, could be my landlord. Except if I'm moving, I might as well just can the rent be like not?
No, how would it be your landlord? You bought the house; it's your home. You're the landlord.
Okay. So I'm the landlord. Okay, the rent is 0 then. Good, I'm a good landlord. My hosts. No, wait. How do you call the people? Land babies.
What?
Land babies.
Land babies.
What do you call? You know what I mean, right? What do you call them?
Are those like the children of landlords, land babies?
No. I mean your tenants? Landlord
Tenants?
is a person.
Yeah,
tenants. That's the one. Yeah, my tenants would have to shovel the snow for me, so I'm not the
and when
best
they don't
landlord.
pay, you take them to tenants court.
Get the fuck out of here!
Fucking stupid. I had some good ones last night.
Are you gonna backhand serve your tenant? That's not a great idea.
Yeah, you backhand serve them the papers.
Rent is due this month.
I'm a
I don't know enough tennis to know the puns. I'm bad.
He's saying a tennis court.
I know. I don't watch tennis. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of localized pun going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay.
Yeah, why don't you live in a worse country?
You'll catch up one day and then rewatch this exact podcast, and you'll be like, "Wow, that was really clever, Keith." Shame you died in the war. No,
Jesus.
Wait, is that a reference? That sounds like a reference.
it's just me.
Oh, okay.
Being
Yeah, it's a reference to
mess.
war. Everyone dies in a war.
He's like, I finally get the joke, and you say that to like the framed picture you have of me on your shelf. That's
This went places.
yeah. I don't really have an answer.
So you don't. Oh.
What?
Like
you asked this question, but you don't have an answer.
Nah, well, it was like a month old, and I was like, I should ask this question. I don't really know how else to start this podcast. Let's just ask this question, and then I did. Boom, podcast fucking started. Now I don't think about moving very much because I don't like it's weird to think about like cutting ties with most people I know because I've lived in the same basic region for my entire life so far. So that's like I don't think about it as an option that much. Yeah. But
that is the
in
trap
the
they try to
perfect
get
world,
you into.
Magically, all of my acquaintances and friends and whatnot all like move to like one block of a city or a town somewhere, and then it's just like, haha, distance is gone. And that's like, and it's like in one of those, it's like a fantastic progressive country that like you can walk around in, so you can like walk from your house to like a place to eat, and also they have like a version of prison that is like about rehabilitation instead of just punishment and so on. There's like 2 or 3 like European countries that I'm describing unintelligently right now. Like I've heard of them. I just don't really remember things in those details usually. Because that's the mess I like the idea
that it has to have a reformation prison. Like it
I mean, there's like I mean, it's indicative of other things.
I wondered if my shoveler person would be one from a reformation prison.
There's just a lot of
what?
There's a lot of places that are just less of a backwards hellscape than our country currently is, and it's just getting somehow worse. It's just
I think you're just jealous that we're running it so efficiently that people don't want to live here anymore.
Yeah. The news
is not good all the time.
Well,
holy shit.
To be fair, the news is not great universally, it seems. Everyone's kind of suffering with their own little microcosm of what appears to be everyone apathetically given up.
Biden is like, hold my beer. Let's see how much I can let things get worse as the supposed. The fact that he was ever like, I'm the most progressive president in the history of the or candidate.
I don't think he said that.
He just specifically.
He had everybody else say that. For him.
Specifically. Here's the really important part of the sentence. Actually, was that it wasn't that he was the most progressive president. It's that he was the most progressive candidate. He had the most progressive platform, which is also known as lies. Because they never
have the most progressive platform.
Fucking never do any of the things they claim they're gonna do. I mean, that's just that. If you're in lockstep with everybody else on that, but more progressive in other things on paper, that makes you the most progressive candidate, apparently.
On paper,
but also isn't socialism also progressive?
I mean, the standard for most progressive president candidate is incredibly low if you only count the people who are actually in the vote at the end, and not like the earlier people like Bernie and so on that never make it to the actual final vote.
Yeah.
Well,
Bernie has never been a candidate for president.
Just between.
He's only been a president for the nominee.
It was just.
Yeah, it's just the nominee.
Candidate for the nominee. Yeah.
Oh, you mean sorry, you mean between the two available options.
That's the incredibly specific semantic tightrope they're walking when they claim
I mean,
this.
Jesus Christ! I think like technically Dick Cheney is more progressive than Trump. Like, what the fuck? You can't say that. Like,
yeah.
Jesus Christ. Like, that's I don't know. Sure, I guess I think even Mitch McConnell's technically more progressive than Trump is. Which, like, that doesn't make him a good candidate. No, he is. Like, yeah. Mitch McConnell wouldn't. I think so. I think Mitch McConnell would literally not become an authoritarian, a dictator. I think he would just hang out there and not do anything all day like he does in his current position.
Biden does. Yeah.
These are depressing distinctions to draw.
It's not that Biden doesn't do anything all day. He's busy napping, so he can be ready to say things to people and then go back to nap.
Napping is important.
It doesn't matter.
I had a nap today. It was good.
Naps are great, but
I
here's
never
the
nap.
thing: is that
naps are evil.
You know who do not need naps?
People who sleep enough during the night. That is, yes. I
just
believe.
commit. If anything's going wrong with my day, it's like that's it. We're just gonna power through until it's time to sleep again, because naps will somehow make everything worse. They always do.
Naps are great. You should always be taking naps.
My
You should
life
be
has
taking
not
naps instead of working.
been improved by nap ever.
Naps are that is one of people don't understand. When you're working from home, you have a luxury of napping whenever you want, and that is a power.
I have the luxury of laying in bed for 3 hours thinking I'll take a nap, and then not accomplishing that for 3 hours, and then being like, well, there's 3 hours.
That's not taking a nap. Taking a nap is when you're ready. Your
I
body is
haven't
ready
that
to take
skill
a nap.
yet. I guess I need more levels in the tree.
Probably. Look, when I go and lay in a bed, there's two things I think about. One, the fact that I once lived a life that I regretfully didn't spend enough time appreciating. And two, whatever my brain conjures up after I pass out, having this sad nostalgia trip down on these memories that I squandered. And then that's how I go to sleep. Easy cycle. You just think about something you like, and then you think about it long enough, and your brain goes, I'm going to try and focus on that and not this stuff out here. And then you pass out, and then you wake up and you're like, damn, I don't know what I was thinking about, but time to do the day.
I'm just taking CBD instead and seeing if that works.
Good luck. Are you taking it, or are you taking it through pill? Are you smoking it? Are you?
No, it's like
rubbing it on your skin.
No, it's a hot chocolate mix.
Okay, so you're doing like an edible.
Yeah, it's a hot chocolate CBD mix. I'm like, please fix me. I can't.
That's not too bad. Has it been working?
I can't be like this forever. I don't know. I got like a chart. Let's see.
What? You're charting it out?
It comes with a little booklet where you, I didn't rate today, did I? Let's give today a 7.
No, that's not too bad. Is that out of 10, or is
it's the end of my second week, unless I missed a day, which I probably did at some point at writing it.
He's like, yeah, I'll give this a 7 out of 100.
It's like 5 7 7 8 3 5 4 3 8 8 2 9 9 7. There's
wow, you're just gonna dox a guy like that? You're gonna put his phone number out on the internet? Like...
Yeah, the famous 14-digit phone number. It's based on my sleep cycles. I don't know. I have had some days where I think since I started, I haven't had a single night where I went to sleep and then woke up in the morning and it had been 8 hours. Which, of all things,
that's fine.
Buying a second pillow did that. Like a few months ago or something. It might be months ago now. I had a weird spike of like, oh my god, I sleep amazingly every day, where like my pillow was all fucked up because I tried to wash it once and I'm like, that's not the correct way to wash that. And it was like lumpy and shitty, and then also they were like flat and weird, so I was like, maybe the pillows are why I don't sleep well. And so I ordered 2 pillows and I stacked them, and I was doing the 2 pillow life for the first time and whatnot, and I would just fucking pass out for 8 hours straight, sometimes more, and then wake up in the morning with almost no nights where I even woke up in the middle to like interrupt that. I'm like, this is fucking incredible. Did I just unlock the secret to this shit? Then it just went away.
Double pillow. Oh,
like I've been doing better, I think, but it's definitely like went away. Like it unfixed, like in some way, and that's like irritating. So like I also have a weird thing where I wake up sometimes and both of my fists are under my neck. I'm like, that's weird. Do I need to order a neck pillow? Is that my body doing something weird? Like, do I need to have those like horseshoe neck pillows that like specifically push up there or something? Because like it seems like my body is deciding to just shove its fists under my neck when I'm sleeping. I'll wake up with both of my arms folded where my fists are just like under my neck, and I'm like, I don't understand this one. I look like a stereotypical relaxing anime character. But no, sleep is elusive and shitty, and being an adult is bad.
I don't know how to explain how that sounds more like there's a problem beyond being an adult. There's something that's not working right here. I don't think it's I am luxurious in the fact that I can just sleep. Like there are times I can't sleep very well. There are times where I just can't fall asleep. But I know it's my own fault. It's generally me like spending too much time on a phone and not just closing my eyes and sitting there.
Oh no,
Or I'm
I
like
can literally just lay on
laying.
my bed in the darkness and just try to sleep for like 6 hours sometimes, and it'll be like, what if not though?
That's what I'm saying. Like that doesn't sound right. I think that sounds like there's something more than
Yeah, a lot of
just
people,
I'm not good at
statistically though, a lot
sleeping.
of adults just have sleeping troubles, and it's just all over the place and weird and annoying.
Sounds
Sucks.
Do statistically adults have access to medicine,
the
to proper health care?
what is it? It's, fucking, what's the medicine? Melatonin's great until it fucking stops working.
No,
I mean, melatonin is more of a band-aid for pricking your finger rather than
Yeah.
a gauze to
When I
stop
first
the
started taking
bleeding.
it, it was like incredibly powerful. I'm like, holy shit, this will knock you out. And I would like carefully try to pace it and whatnot because I didn't want to get used to it or anything and so on. But like whenever it's like, okay, I'm clearly not sleeping. Here we go. But then that just kind of like, it definitely just after like a year or so on of using it here and there, it just stopped having the effect whenever because I used it as like an emergency button, and then it stopped working as an emergency button, and I'm like, welp, sleeping's
Was it a
fun.
particular brand? Did you notice if it was like a brand that started failing, or was there any kind of
I don't know. I don't think I've changed brands necessarily, but I don't think I don't know if the formula matters that much there. It's like the same
That's what I'm curious about.
drug
I would be
thing.
curious if like the formula matters.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Sleeping sucks and is annoying.
melatonin is
And
that thing that our bodies make when we're in the dark, right? Or supposed to
Yeah.
make anyway. Yeah,
it's supposed to be generated by low light. Yeah, not necessarily just by darkness, but it's just by like when the sun is going down, like that sunset level kind of thing. That's when your body starts generating melatonin. With there's a certain light level.
For
I
me,
think you could probably artificially make it.
I do notice that I usually, well, not usually, but sometimes sleep with a light on that I can see well from where my bed is. And if I'm particularly, well, if I'm thinking about stuff and I can't fall asleep easily, I just turn that off in particular, and it just I go to sleep a lot easier. But I don't think that's melatonin. No, serotonin.
Melatonin.
Which one is it? Melatonin.
Yeah. It's melatonin.
I don't think that's it. I think that's just the thing about having a light on that makes it more harder to fall asleep.
It's also hard to regulate the temperature in my room sometimes because where my computer is. All sorts of things.
Do you render? Do you render?
I'm trying not to render at night, which is somewhat easier by the fact that I do need to like open my door and like set up a fan and like try to like re-regulate the temperature of the room for like an hour or so before I try to sleep, hopefully, which doesn't always work. But the more I work on essay scripts, the more I have this window where I can be like rendering in the morning instead of overnight because I'm not going to be recording because that's the main thing is I just have to not be recording. But it's just a whole thing. But I don't know. I keep coming up with different answers to potentially change things, and then sometimes it feels like something works for a while, so I think the thing that I thought was the solution, and then it just isn't. So that's a fun game. I had a groove for a while where nobody was around in the evenings, so I would just go downstairs and go on the smart TV that has all these subscription services hooked up to it, and I would just like be like, all right, let's catch up on all these Disney and Pixar 3D films that I haven't caught up on for like. I've been like out of the loop on almost all of them for like the last like 6 years. Like I just fell off the entire like yearly like watching. So I went through and I watched like Encanto and Luca and whatnot. And I had a good trend with sleeping there, where it's like almost like if just hanging out and kind of like passively watching something for an hour and a half before I go to bed was like maybe like a reset that helped me go to sleep. But then that ritual kind of stopped working. Then it's like, okay, I'll lay here and I'll read this Beastars at lamplight in my bed for a while, for like an hour before bed or something, and see if that helps. And like some things help, and then they don't help, and you don't know. I was definitely like trying to figure out like, can I get Beastars on my Kindle? Because I'm trying to read I'm trying to read the translations that are after the publication so far, so I can be all complete and all that. But it's like, oh, this screen's not very big. Like even if I get it on, I think it's going to be a bit of a struggle to read these. Because I was like, can I replicate this being an in-bed thing as opposed to a on my computer thing, which is what it'll be if I try to read them in the evening. And I'm like, but computer light may be bad for sleep and so on and things. And then there's like, then there's like, should I be doing like mods that affect the type of light that my computer puts out at night? But also, do those affect my recordings if I'm recording? Because obviously that's not good. So I can only do it for personal use, but I don't use any of them yet.
Yes and no. So you can tell it to turn off if you're doing a game. So you could set like, hey, I'm going to be playing a game. Could you turn off? And then when you're doing other stuff with the computer, like editing or checking recordings, whatever stuff like that, then you can technically have it on. Like if you're editing footage, it's not going to ruin that or whatever. But yeah, when you're playing the game, obviously you can't have it like change the color of the monitor and whatever.
The problem is sometimes it doesn't detect that you're playing a game. So you're like, okay, well, I guess I played that hour with this with all the colors yellow.
Yeah, it's like, am I introducing a new thing that can like make my life harder again?
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily a risk you'd want to take, but it is possible. It's just
well, I must say
everything is.
I must say that having a comfortable computer chair helps a lot. But like I always say that watching Sudoku videos helps me go to sleep or just fall asleep. But that's not strictly true. If I wanted to make it a habit, I would immediately notice that every once in a while, no, it's not doing anything, and I'm very invested in this puzzle now, and now I'm more awake than I was before.
Yeah, I've never. Yeah, like it feels like a bad idea to just have a screen I'm looking at when I go to bed. So, but I've tried listening a few times to like video essays or something, and it's like I don't like what's something I can like. People always talk about like falling asleep with something running, and I'm like I don't. Including my videos, like they talk about doing it with my content all the time, and I'm like I don't understand how that works, and I've never accomplished it. I remember falling asleep. Like I have a specific memory in particular of like an anime on like Adult Swim where some lady is like making paper fly around or something, and I remember specifically I fell asleep during the movie and then woke up at the same point of the same movie when it had rerun hours later on my TV, which was just a funny thing that happened. But like as an adult, I have like no memories of like falling asleep watching something, especially when my goal was to watch the thing to fall asleep. Like I don't even understand that concept. That makes no sense to me. And anytime that I've tried to be like, I'm gonna have like I'll have my phone speaker playing a thing, or I'm gonna put headphones on and play this thing off of my phone, or like I'm gonna like try to like listen to something while I just lay in bed and drift off. I'm like, this is impossible. I have no idea how anyone's done this. All I did was waste another hour listening to a thing that might have made me more awake for all I know.
Yeah, that definitely. Yeah, I can see that. It's just for me, just a thing that happens. It's not like a lot of the time I just want to watch the video and just like, oh no, I guess while I'm falling asleep. Okay, that's nice as well.
The only thing that ever makes me think, oh, I can't keep doing this because I'm falling asleep while doing it is reading. But then I'll lay down and not fall asleep. Like I will literally be falling asleep into my book and be like, okay, let's put the book aside and turn off the light, and then I will then not sleep. I'm like, fuck you. What the fuck? Like I have to maintain the continuity of like focusing exclusively on the book the entire time, because the moment I break that, I then stop falling asleep. I hate it.
Yeah, I think what I've found is a good habit here is if you if you find yourself doing that, where you fall asleep while you're reading, you should get really comfortable, get in bed, ready to sleep, and then just read until you feel yourself passing out. Then just put the book down and go to sleep. Don't like move around. Don't get up anywhere. Literally just while your eyes are closed, close the book, put it down, lay down,
That's
sleep.
basically what
Just,
I'm
like,
doing.
go-
I'm literally laying in
Take your
bed reading a
glasses.
book. All I do is is twist my lamp to turn it off.
Nope. That's too much movement. You cannot, you literally, your movement, if you
Like a
move your upper
spell.
body in any capacity, you failed. You need to be sitting there, laying down, just, and like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I can't say much because I have smart lights. So I just lay down and just said, like, computer, turn the lights off, turns the lights off. I go to sleep. It's over. Whoosh. But yeah, I find that if I move, because I'll do that too, where I'll be holding my tablet, reading something, I'm like, I'm falling asleep. And sometimes I'll turn over to the side to put it on the nightstand, and that will wake me up. Like just turning it over to the side, and now I'm like awake. I'm like, oh, I guess I'll go back to reading. And then as soon as I put it right in front of my face and I'm holding it upside, I like start falling asleep. I'm like, what the? Okay, so I just can't turn. I need to like stationarily
What is
sit
this?
here.
What's this fucking reverse psychology brain where it's just out to get us?
It's just,
Like,
it's because
why are
like
our
when you start
goals not
turning,
aligned, body?
it's because when you start moving around, your brain is immediately like, oh, like it does its caveman thing, like, why are you moving?
Yeah.
What's around there? Be alert. And then like, but if you're laying there and you're focusing on a thing, but your intention isn't to like, you're there reading something, but you also are laying in bed. You're also trying to relax. You're also trying to fall asleep. And the moment you like lose all that tension, your body goes, I can't hold on anymore. Good night.
Yeah,
But if
I'm
you have
also just
any, like-
always anxious and
Yeah.
always thinking and always have plans and I'm always thinking about the things that I'm working
That's-
on and always have more
Yeah.
ideas. And then it's like, here's more ideas in the middle of the night. What if I work this problem at fucking 3 a.m. instead of sleeping? It's like, that's not what I want to do right now. I was like, yeah, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to think
Sounds
about this
definitely
thing
like
instead.
something you shouldn't be doing.
You can't control that.
You can't
just,
control it.
your
Yeah, you
mind is
can.
just, your mind is
It's-
just like, fuck you. We're thinking about this all night instead of that.
Here's
That
my
is a very strong contender for why
What
it's
about
important
embarrassing
to
high school
have-
memories instead of sleep? I'm like, can you not?
here's my proposal. It isn't the fact that you're thinking.
CBD.
It isn't the fact that you're
drugs.
How about if it isn't the fact that you're thinking about all this stuff when you're trying to fall asleep that is preventing you from falling asleep? What if it's because you can't fall asleep that is the reason why you're thinking about all this stuff? Uh-huh. See?
I think it's the I think it's the thinking about the stuff that's why I can't fall asleep.
I think that's a consequence.
I don't think it's a consequence. I think it's the cause.
Damn.
I mean, for sure, if you have a lot going on, and if you're like worried about what you're gonna do next in the next few days or maybe next morning, or if you have plans or stuff, like, yeah, that definitely can.
You're saying you don't just go through life being stressed every day?
But the thing is, even
About
when I'm
everything
stressed,
all the time.
Damn.
sometimes, sometimes. But even when I'm stressed, I still like I don't see that as I don't see that in me anyway. I don't see that reflected in how easy I fall asleep. I could be like, okay, tomorrow morning I have this huge interview, and it did happen when I was having important
there's
interviews for work.
nothing more fucked than having a deadline for sleeping. That's it. Game over. I'm not sleeping. I need to wake up at this time and look at the time ticking away of how much time I have to sleep. Wow, it sure gets smaller every second, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Sounds-
Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are indeed very, very tired all the time and don't have deadlines and still can't fall asleep. But a large part of insomnia being a pain in the ass is because we have to wake up in a certain time in the morning for stuff. Because otherwise you just go, I mean, at least I did that a few times. I just can't fall asleep. I guess it's 3 a.m. That's not a problem. Let's go watch somebody play some games or watch some Sudoku videos.
I always Sudoku.
I don't know. Seems like
there's like a whole
he's,
part of you we discovered during Escape Simulator.
No, this time I'm just.
You were all like, I know all the meta rules and stuff. You're like, I thought they were
I know
making
all the meta rules.
When we went in, I thought they were making all the things up for those games. I didn't even know they were like things people knew about. They're like, oh yes, the Cheshire variant. I know, I'm familiar.
I don't actually think that exists.
No, I just said a random word.
Got you, Keith. He knows you're not on. He's on to you. He knows that you don't know anything about Sudoku.
It's because I don't remember any of the actual names because they just sound like made up shit. Which I guess everything is. Weird. It is Sudoku.
Yeah.
There's nothing more made up. There's nothing more made up than Sudoku. Fucking print that on a shirt. I'm not
enough of a nerd to know why they're named the way they are. At least most of them. Things like the X-wing or the bent triple. I guess the bent triple makes sense, but there's one that's like the finned skyscraper. I think it's called finned skyscraper. I think it is. That's what it's called. I don't remember. Either way, the names like these, they don't make any sense. But people call them that, and that's how names do. Do people call it that? Yes. It doesn't mean that the century started on the 2000. Didn't mean that.
What?
Are you okay?
Yeah.
You just glitch a little bit.
It's one of my pet peeves.
We're losing Colonel.
What you were just saying.
Oh, it's Colonel having opinions about when decades start. I remember this from back when that was relevant 2 years ago. It's an opinion in that you think that it matters.
Apparently, he thinks it's a fact.
Look, centuries come first. I think it's more important.
You already disproved yourself.
I didn't.
You said 1 second ago that the thing that people call it is what it is, and everyone calls it the other way. So your thing's wrong.
That's me. Sorry, that's me being ironic.
Sometimes being pedantic is wrong anyway, because actually the semantics are so proven by habit and pattern that they actually are true now.
Sometimes that is the case. You're right.
Yeah, when you feel like admitting it. This is correct, but only when it matches my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I don't like this conversation because I'm in it.
Wait, this isn't the picture. That's not what you mean.
It's like I'm running the B-Stars thing, and there's the constant back and forth of like, what's queer coding and what's queer baiting, and it's always like, I saw a post that somebody wrote that was exactly this thought, where it's like, it's queer baiting when I don't like that anime, and it's queer coding when I do. It's like there's enough overlap in certain definitions that people will just pick the one that's more flattering to their current opinions of the quality of the things that they like.
Yeah.
It's incredibly human.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
So you say. But I'm on to you.
On what?
The difference...
I don't know.
I was just trying to fill space after a decade of Let's Play experience. I didn't expect you to call me out on it.
There has to be some conspiracy to why you start doing these, what's it called? Video essays.
Yeah, it's the part where I expressed interest in them for like 5 years, but said, I don't have time for that though. And then I just did it anyway.
And now you're having a podcast where you complain about how lack of sleep happens because you're doing
that was already happening. It's just also happening now.
Okay. See, this is what I mean. Like, sometimes it isn't the cause. It's just
Andrew will remember the time he and Effie were like in my voice chat while I was playing Death Stranding, because I just was streaming. Like, I was like, fuck it, today's fucked. I couldn't sleep. I'm just gonna play Death Stranding post game completion bullshit for the day. And you guys hung out with me for a while. Like, that was like years ago at this point. Yeah. I definitely wasn't doing video essays yet, but it was just I don't know, 25 or something. I don't know. There was some year where I just like, what if sleep stopped being a thing you could rely on? That sounds like a fun challenge run. This roguelike.
I like the idea that you're like, I could just, that'd be fun to just end.
I wonder
doing,
what the bonus was I got
my body
for taking on that fucking challenge mode.
I get the impression that there's a lot of listeners right now being like, yes, hard relate.
Oh,
but also a lot
I
of
see
kids,
this shit everywhere. And then
a
there's
lot
the
of kids
people
just
that
being
don't
like,
relate, yeah, because they don't understand. They're like, "Why don't you just try
yeah,
not doing the bad?" It's like when you get advice about how to lose weight from skinny people and that have never had weight before, and it's like you
Wow.
have no perspective about how any of this has ever worked. And it's like trying to explain to people sleep problems if they don't have any, and they're like, "All right, this is not a productive conversation."
I mean,
You
have you
tried
just tried not
yoga?
eating food ever again?
Funnily enough, yoga is an answer to both things.
yeah.
Yoga's an
Well,
answer to pretty much anything. You'll find that there's like, oh man, my stomach's upset. Have you tried yoga? Did you know that like stretching your body in a certain way could ease the pain in your stomach?
Yeah, yoga
gut. You need to
aligned
say
like all
gut.
my bullshit.
They always use like slightly medical terms, but not fully medical terms. Because if you
Yeah,
say stomach,
plausible deniability.
yeah.
Yeah, like the up dog position.
Why?
That
So fucking stupid.
Wait. Why is it
You
so
dare
fucking
criticize me? You're gonna up dog?
I thought it might work. All right, it was a really spark a genius moment right there.
I mean, there was a very. I mean, I paused for just long enough to see if Colonel would then ask, because there was a risk.
No, there isn't.
Damn.
That's up dog. Everybody knows up dog.
There's always a risk. People fall for it. Also, it's definitely. I have to admit, it's a little clever because of downward dog being one of the poses.
Wait, downward. Oh, that's what I was.
Yeah, downward
missing.
dog's actually one of the
Downward dog
That's
is
what I
real,
was
so
missing.
upward dog could be a thing.
There we go. I knew there was something else.
I mean, it might even be one. I don't know. Maybe upward dog
Look.
is a fucking yoga pose, which makes it even funnier.
I'm just saying.
Nah,
I
up dog
can't
is
be
a
at
stroke
fault here.
technique.
I think I did a great thing.
I'm sure you're proud of yourself.
Of
For the up
course.
dog?
If I wasn't, that would be
Then, like, why
just such a-
bother? That was the only goal.
yeah.
No one else is going to be
exactly.
happy with that.
Exactly. What a failure that would have been.
Sometimes you just say a joke and you're just like, man, even I hate that. Why did that have to happen to me via me?
Don't say it. Just keep it all in your head. That's what I do.
No. No
You can't,
filter.
like-
Just go.
But if you do, though, like I will say the silliest crap
Yes.
if I say it out loud, and I think it's funny. But I can say like the brainiest of jokes in my head and be like, not good enough. But then
No.
I spout out the nonsense. It's funny. That's good. I like that.
It's the
just
payoff
because-
is so good though when you say the dumbest shit and then it just and then people it just works and you don't know if it's gonna work if you wait like because then you lose the moment so you just fucking go and then you just like throw everything at the wall and like eventually like enough of it works that it's worth it or you lose your job and nobody watches your content. I don't know. One of those two
Oh my
happens.
God.
Who could be stressed at a thing where you perform live every day on on a whim and you're just like hope I don't forget how.
Isn't it a dream though? You don't have to do anything. It's such an easy job.
Yeah,
Yeah, just playing games, having fun.
Although there's
all
a
day.
security in preparation.
Yeah, it's true.
It's,
The
it's
thing
very
about
interesting
forgetting,
being able to like just sit there and think very closely about every way that you phrase everything in like a big long script as opposed to just being like, so let's just go. And then it's like, wow, I recorded like 5 hours of content today again. I can remember 3 minutes of it.
The last.
Hope
3
it was
minutes.
good.
Well, it's partly self-selection from the audience for sure, because people watch our stuff because they like watching our stuff. So as long as we keep making stuff, it is going to be ours, and hopefully they'll keep liking it. Now, of course, there's ups and downs, but that self-selection is really powerful. But and that's why, like you say, hopefully I don't forget to know how to make it.
Yeah.
I think on a certain level, I understand that fear. I just don't understand that fear, in a way.
Well, it's the imposter
What?
syndrome. Like the idea that people will just realize that actually you sucked all along. Or like you'll just like weirdly like the yips, like you'll just weirdly lose your groove on how to commentate the right way or whatever. I've literally done that. Like I had an episode of Mario Galaxy recently where it was like, yeah, I guess this will be my only episode I record today because this isn't working. Like I can't unmake the progress I've made, so I guess this video is just gonna happen. But like this is like, I'm not in like the mood that I'm in all these other Mario videos. And sometimes you like, there's like a headspace thing of like you're in like a certain like a feeling, like you're either like, oh yeah, let's go, I'm energetic and I'm ready to go, versus like you're in a funk where it's like, I don't know if I'm up to like recording right now or whatever. And like some days you kind of feel not quite ready for hours until you just kind of say fuck it and just start, and then you kind of like fall right into your groove somehow despite not thinking you would. But then the other times you can be like, nope, didn't happen. it just didn't. Whoops.
I get. I think that depends a lot with the game as well, and I can imagine Super Mario Galaxy might be one of the games that might be harder to record because it's at the same time. It's probably equal measure challenging for the brain and also fill up. Well, we're just saying things while I'm just doing things. So it's like part podcast, part you having a hell of a time or a difficult time doing something.
Is it going to be up yet by the time I do? Oh yeah, tomorrow. Yeah, okay. I can talk about this. I started. The games are so all over the place from game to game, and it's like sometimes you're playing a puzzle game where it's just like, in some ways I almost don't commentate. I'm just saying my thought process at the most, and just kind of like hanging out. And then in like in platformers, there's a weird element of like they're so devoid of narrative content and context. It's just a bunch of fucking random bullshit floating in the sky and whatnot, like in Mario Galaxy, that it's like I just kind of weirdly live reacting to my own fuck ups in the platforming, and then sometimes kind of podcasting a little bit and not knowing exactly the balance. But but certain games are great, like a game like Myst or Outer Wilds. You're perpetually trying to unpack the world, and that always gives you something to talk about. And like Disco Elysium is obviously a very thought-provoking game. And like I'm playing Forgotten City right now. For the next Patreon game.
Oh, nice! Did that win?
That's why I had to double check real quick. And I am just arguing with that game, like continuously. Like every conversation, whenever there's a break to talk, I just start arguing with the game for a bit, and it's just really fun, and like that keeps me really engaged. It gives me a lot to talk about and so on. But other times it's like, yeah, like what do I do right now? I feel really at a loss when it's like I have an appreciation for walking simulators as a concept, but a lot of the slow plotting walking simulatory narrating dialogue heavy or like voiceover heavy experiences, I often don't want to let's play because I get really sleepy when I'm doing them, and and also like a lot of like side scrolling like cinematic, like Grease, which is spelled Gris, like that's very slow platformy beautiful game that a lot of people liked. Like it's just slow enough that I get sleepy playing it, and then I'm like, fuck, I gotta think of something to say now, and it's like, I don't know, man. It's like Journey. It's like a relatively self-explanatory art piece where I feel like I don't have a lot to add while I'm playing it. And it's like, look at the pretty thing that moves very slowly. I'm moving very slowly in a pretty world that's pretty. And it's probably about like loss. And they're going to do the seasons motif again where it's like spring and then it's summer and then it's fall. And well, no, the lowest point happens at winter. Like I play like 6 games like that now.
Yeah, my brain was immediately jumping to like 7 different games as you were describing.
Yeah, Abzu did the same thing despite being underwater, I think. Like the seasons keep happening, and it's like those are beautiful games, and oftentimes they have really interesting narratives. But unless it has the pacing of like Edith Finch, I get really sleepy trying to commentate them, which only makes the commentating worse and more stressful because I'm like, I'm trying to do a show here, but also like, do I just lazily just let the game be the show for me? Because I don't. It's not it's not that the games aren't
Mm.
deep or whatever, but it's like a lot of them wear a lot of the stuff they're saying on their sleeve enough that I feel like I'm just fucking lazily repeating what the game is saying in some cases, and I just feel like a jackass for trying to commentate it all.
As you were describing that, I was thinking of when that has happened to me, and it's not the same, I don't think. But Kingdom Come Deliverance had a lot of moments where I was just going through the countryside and not really accomplishing much. There's a few episodes where it's just mostly going around the countryside, and the like before recording each of those episodes, I knew those episodes were going to be like that. So my cheat is to watch better Let's Players than me, and be like, oh, this look at this person here, super. Oh, look at this, the spirit, the jokes, and that's the attitude, and and that's how I that's how I start the episode. So early in my channel, I did that a lot. Well, not with all games, but with many games, I did that. And you can definitely tell, like the first 10 to 15 minutes is me still remembering that spirit, and then the last 15 to 10 minutes is just like, oh, okay. I reset it because I rarely record more than one episode at a time. So yeah, it depends on the game. Again, it's just like some games are easy. Some games is like Mass Effect, and there's always somebody saying nonsense. It's okay, and then there's always somebody saying nice things, and I can say my nonsense at any of those things. So I have always time to feel. Well, I guess the thing with Mass Effect is that I'm doing live, so there's the back and forth with the viewers allows for a little bit of that recharging. We've talked about it before, but yeah, lonely recording of Let's Plays does require that management of your investment, I suppose, in creating something on top of what the game is doing.
It's a weird job. Just a weird time in general. Yeah. There are definitely times where I'm like, it'd be nice just to have an editor. Because then I wouldn't have to worry about, like, is this part boring? Is this part gonna... But then I'd have to, like, record more to give them the chance to edit. Or just give them the chance to be like, fuck it, cut 10 minutes out of this episode, and it's just gonna be shorter. Obviously, the editing requires subtraction, generally speaking. But there's I mean the editing in that when you are controlling for, like, this part is like the pacing is bad or whatever. Like, I have an ongoing thing with, like, certain puzzle games where I'm like, I want to edit this down. Like, I've been thinking about this with Escape Simulator. I keep uploading each, like, session as one episode, essentially. And I keep thinking, like, it'd be nice to edit these down pacing-wise, because there's some parts where we just get stuck for a long-ass time. But then people have commented on some of the videos, like, the video skipped the part where you learned this thing or whatever. I'm like, fuck. Because, like, I'm not sitting there and watching the 2-hour session. I'm just remembering live, oh, there's a part over here where we got stuck for a while, and then I try to edit out, like, a chunk of that, and then I fuck it up because I didn't, like, carefully pay attention to all of it. But obviously, like, with hours and hours of content every day, I can't, like, carefully pay perfect attention to, like, editing on that granular level of detail, which is why I try to live edit most of my playthroughs. Because, yeah, trying to, like, understand, like, when exactly every epiphany happened, and like how do you perfectly edit down the part where we get stuck for 15 minutes in this part without editing out any of the parts where we notice something, and also any of the parts that are, like, good jokes or whatever. And it's like, it's usually just easier just to fuck it, just throw the whole thing up, just don't think about it. Because trying to edit something out often fucks it up in ways you didn't mean to, because you didn't have the time to pay that close of attention to it. And that's what an editor is for, which I can't afford. So, never mind.
I think there's always going to be a symbiotic relationship, though, because one of the solutions to that problem of learning is to, like, you're stuck on a place and you just realize, okay, this is not going to make it. Let's just look around, and you're not even making commentary. You may be recording, but maybe you're not even recording. And then when you figure the solution out, you're like, okay, let's record now. And then you say, hey, I found the solution. It's this. I figured this out. And you explain your thought process and move on from there. You know, that sort of knowing ahead that as you're recording, knowing that the that certain part of your gameplay is not going to make it into the let's play, that is the result of you doing that. But
that's
if you have an
massively
editor,
less of a thing in a, because like Escape Sim is a collaborative experience. So there isn't a moment where you're like, okay, fuck it, fuck this part. It's like, no, I'm streaming with another person, so we need to like, we're always trying to commentate and so on. And then there's the question of like, are the jokes worth the part where we're stuck for that long? Was there anything good and so on? Because there's some parts where it's like literally like we lose 15 minutes because one of us didn't realize an item was in our inventory, basically. And it's like, there's a judgment call to be made by a human being, and it's like, and it's just that do I have the time to be that human being? Technically, but do I value my time more than that? Also, no, also yes. So it's like I'd rather be working on one of my scripts than hyper managing the escape simulator like edit and so on. But I don't know.
I do get the impression that some channels on YouTube that heavily edit their content throw away precisely that, what you're referring to, like the you edit the people complaining that you're editing out your learning process. They throw away the learning process completely, and in favor of more of a storyline, and what comes out, it's like you get the impression that there's so much more stuff there, and there's just like okay, this is the episode that I edited out of like an hour of me saying things on top of playing a game, and now it's 15 minutes or however long. And I noticed that a lot more. Like I don't watch a lot of big channels.
I saw like Jacksepticeye, his entire playthrough playthrough of Bloodborne is like it's 4 parts.
What?
Yeah.
It's the entire game in 4 parts.
And admittedly, looking at it now, it's the first episode's almost 2 hours long. The second one's over an hour and a half. The third one's almost 2 hours, and then the fourth one's an hour. So it's like it's chunkier than being like 20-30 minute episodes, but those have to be edited down so much. I'm not going to watch Jacksepticeye to find out, but I'm like, whenever I glimpse at a popular channel, I'm like, I get more and more why people are like, oh, I came to you, I like that you still do Let's Plays. That's so fucking retro. like the idea of an episodic front to back playthrough of a game is becoming increasingly niche and like non-existent, to the point where we're the weirdos now.
But but if you want to become like 1 million views consistently per episode, you need that. Like,
yeah, and you do the bullshit where you open the episode with a spoiler, basically. Like like the thumbnail is basically a spoiler because you make a new thumbnail for every video, and it's always got to be the interesting thing that happened and so on. And the title is caps lock yelling about the thing that happened in the video, and then the first 5 seconds is a weird like spoiler of later in the video that they just show with no context, and then they start the video from the beginning, and then you get confused because like 20 minutes in, suddenly the moment you saw at the beginning happens again, and you're like, oh. Like I've seen that on so many channels, to the point where it's like, oh, this is just a thing people are doing. That's like a way to hook people, but it's formatted so strangely as not even being like a this is gonna happen later moment, that it's like confusing to me. It's like reality TV show editing that people do now.
Yeah, because it needs to be fast. You need to be able to do that on multiple videos over the course of the year, and you need to do it consistently and cleanly.
It always confuses me because I'm not ready for it, because I just don't watch that kind of channel very much. But no, like our entire format is like everyone's just trying to throw it out the window. Like almost everyone that ever did it before just kind of stopped doing it. And it's more like highlight things, and if you do big long full playthroughs of stuff, that's like a streaming thing now. That's what people internalize, that as streaming. Whenever I talk about something taking time, where it's like, oh, I don't think I want to keep doing like that. I don't think I want to do a completionist run through of this series, or do all the like end game grindy, fill the entire map, do all the bonus content thing. I think I'm gonna call it here at the ending or whatever. People are like, oh, go do it on streams, and I'm like, what is we've had this discussion before, but it's like, what does that mean to you? Because like for me, it's like I'm already showing the game. Like a stream doesn't make the game faster in any way. I'm not magically pulling it from my pocket stream dimension where I have more hours in the day. Like I'm already putting the time in. But people reflexively say that because they're used to other channels that do like one highlight video per day, and then they do 1 billion hours of stream content instead on a different platform, and the two never meet. Like I think Splattercat, like his channel's now like entirely Let's Tries, but he also has a Twitch account where he does playthroughs, I think, last I checked. And it's like
it's every once in a while.
But for me being like already doing playthroughs already, I'm like, streams are just the same thing. Like
I think there might be an incentive, or not an incentive, but sort of like an unsaid thing there, where streams are just not as good as Let's Plays.
Yeah,
they're never going to be as good. And you know, if you don't want to make this completionist run of this particular game because the content isn't very good, go do that on that platform where people are okay with the content not being very good. I think maybe that some people think of it like that, which is legitimate. I agree with that. I'm saying the things that I
hate streams.
Streams are I mean, they're cool. Like when you know the person well enough, it just becomes something different. Like if you know the game well enough and you know the person well enough, you can join at any time and watch at anything, and it's fine. But I cannot understand, or rather, I can understand the people watching full Let's Plays on stream. It's totally fine. But it's such a much more.
It's a horrible format.
It's a bad format, yeah, because first off, it requires you to be live to watch it, unless you're like watching in the 2 weeks after.
It's very, very obvious that even without any audience participation, viewership is massively higher on like Monster Prom than Final Fantasy 14, because one of those things is part 5 billion of a linear story, and the other one is a pick up and play game that you could just watch that one time and it's fine. Like streams are inherently antithetical to the idea of even doing like a series on something that's you're supposed to like be able to comprehend from front to back. Like our entire viewership of Final Fantasy 14 streams is the people that are participating live in game, but also have the stream open on the other screen. That's like, it's just those 8 people. That's the entire audience for those streams.
Yeah,
which is also the only reason I keep streaming, is because I'm like, well, then they can't watch if I stop streaming. So I guess I got to keep streaming these. Otherwise, I would have just stopped streaming Final Fantasy 14 because it's so obviously bad for streaming that I would just.
Which is weird because it is a popular, like,
it is, right?
I know a lot of popular
but it's a story-driven visual
novel
experience, basically. Like,
I just think the pool of viewers,
I think even the
like,
people that like, I've never watched them, but I think the people that stream the game probably are mostly doing the MMO parts of the game and are interacting with their chat while doing the grinding and the repetitive running of things and fashion shopping and stuff, and not like reading the linear story, which is what we're doing.
It's a complicated thing because Twitch also doesn't reinforce like proper game etiquette in a decent way. At least in my experience, it doesn't do that. My 2 best performing games ever, both in terms of viewership and the game that I got most viewership in on Twitch was Pillars of Eternity 1. I did a full playthrough on maximum difficulty, had 60-70 viewers consistently.
Weird.
Don't know why.
Wow.
And the other game is Fallout New Vegas, and I got like 50 follows every time I streamed it, and I usually only get like 1 or 2 follows every stream, so I'm really slow streamer. But on Fallout New Vegas, everybody was hyped for it. I was saying hello to everybody all the time, it's madness. It's weird because like. I imagine if I went back and streamed those games, I would get the same viewers. Maybe, but even if there was a thing that I could count on, do I want to do that? Play Pillars of Eternity over and over again and Fallout New Vegas? Like, you get to a point where this isn't Minecraft, this isn't City Skylines. I can't. What can I do? It's just play the same game over. I mean, it's weird. But
I don't know. My channel's like defined in many ways by not making smart choices. It's
Wow.
weird because like people will come to like I don't remember, I think you might have at some point, but Brian and some other people have definitely come to me looking for advice on how to grow and whatnot. And I do have advice on how to start growing, like, or how to grab onto like the first thing that does work out. But also, like, ever since I've been even vaguely sustainable, especially since I got Patreon support, I have been like actively not making smart choices, like because it sucks to make the smart choices. Like right now,
Yes.
the smart choice is to stop uploading everything else that I'm uploading and just do Elden Ring all day. Like my part one
What?
broke
Like
10.
every video?
Yes, absolutely.
Like
Part one of my
what?
series broke 10k views. Why am I uploading fucking Umurangi Generation? What's this masturbatory crap? Don't upload that trash indie game. Upload this game that gets all the views and give them more views. Otherwise, they're gonna leave and watch other people, which they're literally telling me they're going to do. Is they're gonna leave and watch other people if I don't upload more.
They're not gonna do it though.
I need to watch this other guy for my fix and stuff like that. So, but it's like the thing they're complaining about right now about how I'm not uploading enough Elden Ring is also the entire reason they like my channel in many cases, is that I don't like, because like that's the slippery thing, is like you start making those choices of only doing what's smart and only do like that leads to you canceling playthroughs when they don't get enough views, because fuck that, like obviously that's going to make things worse. You got to move on to the next thing that'll get more views, and then you just stop playing certain kinds of games entirely because they're not the smart call anymore. And then you're like, oh well, the only things that get views are Elden Ring and this podcast, so I guess that's the channel now. This podcast does weirdly well.
Hello, viewers.
That's surprising.
This podcast is like more popular than most playthroughs on this shit that I do. Like it's so consistently hits 1k views that I'm like fascinated by it.
We're very good at what we do. That, I mean, let's not dismiss that.
We're very good at
Elden Ring.
What is it?
Elden Ring and dialogue choices. That, I mean, yeah. Did I tell you that I started playing Elden Ring and god damn it, it's good.
It's pretty good. It's a good time.
Good.
I don't think my opinion's getting better of it the more I play.
That's not surprising given your history of being a person.
It's
also,
just,
you didn't like Dark Souls 1.
You're like, this isn't One Piece.
Exactly.
That's his fatal
it
flaw.
It is missing a lot more anime than I would like. It's no, I don't know. I think my disappointment is mostly in its open world. I fall back to the idea that I don't think that type of game fits as an open world for me, because I don't play open worlds the right way. The way that I play open worlds is I become so incredibly overpowered, and then I can go through and just bonk everything. Like I last stream, and last stream I had this problem where I saw everybody in the Discord and they were talking about how hard this boss was, and I looked online and people were talking about how hard this boss was, and like, this is the real skill check of the beginning area, like I know chapter 1 of the story of Elden Ring is like, this is the skill check. I just did it on my first try. I just bonked him over the head a few times and he just died. And like,
I think a lot of that stuff is really up in the air, where like people talk about there being walls, but also like the idea of what order you're even supposed to play Elden Ring in is so open that I don't know how, like, and because we're so early, like there's like zero consensus really on like what the play order is or what level you're supposed to be when you get to any places, if there even such a thing, because it's like, it's cartoonishly nonlinear. Like you don't even have to beat the first area's boss to like just leave. Like there aren't like gates that are locked anywhere. I explored like 3 different regions before I ever came back, and I was like, let's deal with some of that early stuff, including like the first area's boss entire area I literally didn't see. I just went past it and didn't see that entire direction until later.
Which boss? Which boss is that?
Like the region boss, essentially.
Yeah, the region boss.
Like the Lord Vessel Soul equivalent. Like,
right.
Go fight Seath and other people. Seath and Nito and Bed of Chaos. Like those kinds of, like there's usually like a there's like the big milestone-y kind of like load-bearing bosses that in these games, and like there's no particular structure to force you to confront them, so you could just like wander around for 200 hours and then be like, maybe I will go there now, or you could literally go straight there, and those are very different experiences, and who the fuck knows what even is the intended one, because you can't tell like what level anyone is. There's no like, it's like incredibly like make what you want of it as an experience. I get a lot of comments that are like, you're fighting this dude, and it's like I guess like thumbs up for sticking through it and doing it under leveled, and it's like, I don't have a concept of the difficulty curve of this game. I don't even know if I'm under leveled or not. And do you really? Who knows? I'm apparently less leveled than you were, but that's a different question.
Yeah. So did you fight the tree sentinel?
I think
the name doesn't. It's not very spoilery.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I did. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So it's an early boss basically that you can avoid if you want to. And the first time,
Keith, the tree sentinel is the gilded guy on the horse.
You mean literally the guy that's outside? Game. Okay.
Yeah. The guy. The first thing that everybody experiences when they realize, oh, maybe I'm not very good at Souls games.
I literally did. I didn't fight him.
Oh, you didn't fight him?
That's a good idea.
I didn't fight him until like 10 hours into the game. I literally saw that guy and I'm like, no, he's on a horse.
That's what I think. That's what makes it difficult. I think that's what makes it difficult in that game is that boss in particular. I found was very beatable on a 0 level character.
Yeah,
I wasn't 0.
He's one of those characters where you can abuse recognizing which hand has a weapon and which one doesn't have a weapon, and be like, oh, that's a pattern you can exploit in these games.
Yeah. So that's how I beat it. But I didn't die like 40 times, and I spent like an hour and a half learning all the... Like, I can go back and beat that boss.
Yeah, like I had to learn where to lure him to make the game stutter less, because that's the worst performing location in the entire game that I've ever seen, is right there in that boss chamber. Not chamber.
Where... Is it at the bottom that you were trying to fight it, or did you? Because I thought
if I lure him all the way, if I lure him all the way upstairs to the church, then suddenly it's totally fine. But he's mostly patrolling. He's mostly patrolling up and down that entire ravine, and so it's way more. Yeah. You could fight him all the way down at the first grace, and
that's very.
Your game will not like that. At least the launch version of the game. That's why I think we were talking about that last week, that boss specifically, but in vaguer terms. But it's been a week now. We can talk about the first boss a little bit, but like at the time, it was like boss? That's why that's why I was complaining about, like, I can see why the reviews are so negative about the performance of this game, because like, admittedly other people might be having a much worse experience just in general, but even me, as somebody where the whole game runs great except for there and like one stormy place that's a little later, but not very much later. That one spot performs so hilariously poorly that I would also come away with the conclusion that the game doesn't run and that I should refund it immediately and give it a negative review, because there's a time limit for how long you can play before you can refund, and that's a real bad sign. But knowing that the rest of the game was performing fine, I was like, okay, I got to try to lure him somewhere where the game runs better. But what an appalling first boss fight. For performance reasons, that I just want to know what went wrong, like behind the scenes, to let that through, because the on-ramping experience is so important. And I know that there's like the on-ramping experience is fucked with a little bit by From Software's love of fucking with you on purpose, but that's not the way they mean. They don't mean that. They don't mean game not work.
I think it must be like somehow that area right as you leave the church, it must be right on a load seam or something, because it feels like every time there's like a certain, like you take like 10 steps past a certain part of that path and it is just dying. It's just dying to do anything. But then you go just a little bit further, perfectly fine. You go a little bit further back, perfectly fine. There's just this cone area, like I don't know where it's like right after the statue that you can summon people from co-op for. Right as you pass that statue, there's like this zone that when you're in, everything is just really laggy and crappy. It's not a complete horizontal or vertical. Like it's not It doesn't go all the way across the map. It's just this one little square, and like it just happens to be like a half the chunk of that guy's walking radius. Like just half of the area that guy walks through happens to be stuck in this terrible loading zone. And so I don't know, like that has to be what it is. I can't imagine someone was just like, yeah, I'm going to just load or I'm just going to make this area so overproduced. Too many trees, too many deer and sheep and cows and everything. Just too much stuff in the area where you're fighting a guy on a fucking horse. Like that. And it runs fine on console. So I played on console. It runs perfectly fine on console in that area. It's only PC that it hiccups that badly. So
I wonder if it's because they're like pushing the SSD to the maximum because it's a 4th generation PCIe 4th generation SSD on the consoles. But on computers, most people only have 3rd generation because screw getting a 4th generation one. So I wonder if it's just a maximum throughput because mine, I think it's the SSD that I'm playing it on is like twice or half the speed of the 4th generation ones or something around there. And so I do see some chugs. I see chugs everywhere a little. Well, it's not chugs, it's just like little frame drops here and there. It's not even frame drops because a true frame drop is just one of the frames didn't get rendered and it's twice. And that happens on consoles. It doesn't happen on a computer. It's a frame hang on a computer. But they will happen every once in a while. So I think it's just CPU. It's using the CPU wrong or something on PC.
I don't know. From Software ports again are pretty notoriously bad on PC for a while until either someone makes a mod or it takes like half a year and then they kind of even it out. And I get it, like the game just came out. I'm sure everyone wants to shake their family's hands like they're strangers again. And
honestly, I think hearing everybody complain about it, I thought it was going to be a lot worse than it is. That first boss.
It's only that area. That's what.
Yeah, it's mostly that
boss.
Yeah. No. What I mean, what I'm saying is the performance. It's only that area. It's mostly that area.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, there's going to be a frame drop.
There might be people that just like weren't ready for the game to catch up with their PC because, hey guys, new console generation came out. Get ready. There's going to be a leap because as much as PCs have the power or whatever, like the progression in leaps is kind of tied to where consoles currently are because a lot of games release it in parallel. So
and the modern consoles for once are actually on par with modern day computers because when the PlayStation 4 came
chunky. Maybe
you know what computer. I mean. What I mean is the technology. Like when the PlayStation 4 came out, if you had a 1-year-old computer, you had the same level of technology. And the PS4 wasn't the same. Like even the SSD specifically, like the 4th generation SSDs for PCIe, the 4th generation PCIe SSDs didn't come out like I think it was like 2 or 3 months before the consoles were released for PC. And I think no, the SSDs were available. The motherboards usually. What was that? There was something like that. And then you had to like if you want the latest technology, you have to have the latest of everything. So the newest consoles are like, if you want to get feature parity, or it's not necessarily a feature parity, but performance parity on some of the more niche things like random read operations for the SSD, then you need to spend serious money. You don't need to usually, and hopefully that isn't the case for Elden Ring. Hopefully they don't find out, well, I guess you are going to have to just upgrade your everything because the old computers don't do this.
I do remember there being like a string of articles that were like, Elden Ring specs have come out and they're raising some eyebrows or something like that. So it might have been like a whoa moment where people weren't ready for them to be that high. I didn't bother reading it because I'm like, fuck it, my computer can kill everything. I don't give a shit. Even though I am technically like, I'm pretty out of date now, I think. Aren't we?
You're playing at 1440s or
Nvidias are like 3000 something now, right? Because I've only got a I've only got a 1070.
Yeah, you're.
Oh my god, you're definitely behind.
You're very behind.
But it's like it doesn't matter. Everything works great.
Yeah,
actually, that's not true. The 10 generation's better than the 20 generation. The 10 is closer to. No, it's true. The 10 is
like that.
The 1080 is stronger than the 2080. Like,
Oh, no, it was stronger at release. Not, I mean, I don't
How
think
did
even
they
that's
fuck that
true.
up?
No, it's not quite
I'm
like
telling you, I'm telling you,
I've heard you complain about your
my computer has consistent issues, and I'm using a 2080 Super. It has its own custom cooling fan. Like I have a liquid cool on it to keep it cool. It runs at a 37 Celsius consistently. The thing, I have 48 gigs of RAM. I have 48
Are you sure you're
gigs
not
of RAM.
overheating your MOFETs and like your power delivery? Because you can have the GPU itself very cool, but if the power
CPU,
delivery...
GPU, RAM, motherboard, all of it runs at least at no higher than 40.
But what I'm saying is, like, you can have, if I mean, I'm sure you did the things right, but it is possible to have liquid cooling that only cools the CPU or the GPU, for example. Let's stick with the GPU because that's what we're talking about. But then you don't liquid cool, for example, the memory, or you don't liquid cool the power delivery, which means that
I don't liquid cool the memory, but I do liquid cool the CPU and the GPU.
And when I say memory, I mean the graphics card memory, like the little chips.
Oh yeah. It's a whole case.
It's a whole thing. As I said, I'm sure you're doing it right, but yeah.
I think I vaguely heard that, like, oh yeah, the 3000s are out or whatever, but then it was also accompanied with like, and they're completely unobtainable. Welcome to the dystopian future of bullshit crypto. And it's like, all right, I'm gonna just tune out. And then it just continued to be not even slightly a problem. So I'm like, okay, whatevs. I can run every game on a high at 60 frames per second while also recording, so nothing matters. I immediately turn every game from beautiful or maximum to high because that's just my default. And also, like, I'll frame lock it if I can, just because I don't like I don't like a game being like, I would like to run at maximum frames. I'm running at 400 frames per second and your computer sounds angry. And I'm like, why?
Elden Ring isn't going to do that.
Don't do that.
So I have a slightly more...
I don't like my computer getting angry and loud for frames I'm not even seeing.
I love the idea that it's like, I'm going to put a lot of work in. It's like, you fucking won't. Like, get back there. Keep yourself together. Don't overwork yourself.
Yeah,
60,
relax.
I'm solid with that.
Stop at 60. Have a chill time. Just relax. I
like to think your card is like longer, having a panic attack.
I don't think it's gonna work though.
It's just sitting there like, I could do 144. Just let me, man. I can do it. Like,
I don't know that it's doing much in this particular case. I'm looking at the recommended requirements, and the graphics card recommended is indeed a 1070. And from AMD, it's a Vega 56, which is the one I have. So we're both on the recommended stuff. I have my graphics at maximum, and it's usually at 60 frames, but my UPS just screams because the computer is drawing so much power. It's just like all the time, and I need to edit it in
What
post.
is with your people's computers? It's terrifying me when you say that. Like, it's just a living creature now that's in constant pain, and you're like, what are you doing?
My computer's close enough to me that I can just hear it when it the fans just kick up all of a sudden, and it's like, here they go. Something something about this moment made it start going. It's like how
you might need better fans. That's
maybe
I've upgraded my fans in the past, and it's like old fans. They are noisier just by being old. It's
by virtue of being old. Yeah.
I mean, my fans are not old because y'all were there when I got them.
I wasn't.
No, remember when my computer broke and I had to make a new computer? Like, that was not long ago. I had to like stressfully rebuild my computer over the course of a few days via like occasionally texting you guys and just like hoping I did it right, because I had never done it before from scratch like that, and it was like distressing.
I remember.
Especially the various stages where I tried turning it on and nothing happened. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, I remember more your rants about that particular experience being it
is not a good time. It's not fun. It's not fun to be like, you're on one hand, all of the people that are too into it are like, yeah, computers just plug and play these days. And then also
it's not fun.
Every time you look up any part of the process, they're like, if you do this wrong, it'll brick the whole thing. And it's like, cool, I love these two things next to each other. I love just this nightmare.
So I like computer stuff. I follow news and stuff, and I fuck with computers. I'm good, but I also don't think
I
it's
fuck
fun.
with that.
Yeah. So the last month so I have as I mentioned before, I have two computers, one for actually playing and another one for streaming and capturing all the things. And that one, which was an old i5 Haswell like fourth generation Intel. That one basically the new updates of Windows or whatever just made it was freaking out. It was dropping frames all over the place. And so I was like, okay, I guess it's time to buy a new computer. The thing is, because I didn't buy the latest generations and all that of all the things, and I just bought the best value for money sort of things. When I received the motherboard and I received the CPU, I installed the CPU on, and there's the cooler with a little with the thermal paste on the cooler, and you like smoosh that, and it's like, oh, it's done. Like put it in the case. It's like, oh, let's turn it on, and he turned the computer on, and it doesn't do anything. And I knew it wasn't going to do anything. I was ready. It's calm. It's still, even though I knew it's still a pain in the ass. And I'm going to tell you what happened.
It's
so
what
I ended up having to. The reason why that happened is because the motherboard that I bought was older than the CPU itself. So the motherboard needed to update. But the thing is, I couldn't update the motherboard with the CPU that I bought because it wouldn't start. So I had to get my gaming CPU out of the case that is in my gaming computer, put it in the new motherboard that I bought so I could update it to the new CPU, and then remove that CPU again, put the new one in there, and then do the same operation on my old CPU. So it's basically unmounting and mounting two CPUs in the same afternoon just to update a freaking motherboard. And the updating of the motherboard is famous for, if the power goes out, yes, you break the motherboard. It's very difficult to recover. Well, some motherboards are not that difficult, but most motherboards are difficult to recover if the power goes out while you're updating. And the thing is, the way most updates work is you access the website on a computer. You have a pen drive. You just download like a 16 megabyte file into the pen drive, and you put it in the computer that you need to update. Right? It's simple. It's straightforward. But the update takes like 30 minutes. And I don't really understand why, but it's just 16 megabytes. Why? What are you doing? The power could go out at any minute. Even though I have a UPS, that wasn't an issue.
The moment where you're putting a flash drive into your computer to update your motherboard and just hoping that it doesn't just like fuck the whole thing, because it just ends up not having a fucking BIOS or something, and you're like, well, I guess that's it. That's fucking terrifying for a lot of reasons. But like, there's also like, I just know inevitably that like whatever the fuck I'm trying to do, like it's going to go wrong at the most stressful possible moment. And and I'm just gonna have to deal with that. And by deal with that, I mean panic. And that's just the life that I live.
And in the middle of all these problems, or of all the process of having to update that motherboard, the new CPU that I bought has an integrated graphics card in it. So it's one of the it's like Intel has. Intel has a graphics card inside the CPU itself. So the computer runs without a graphics card because the CPU does that job. But AMD doesn't always do that. My gaming computer, for example, does not have an integrated GPU. But the new CPU that I bought does. So guess what? When I had to update the motherboard with my gaming CPU, I went and hooked up the computer. The computer would boot up, no problem, do all the things, and I wouldn't get any image. And it took me more than I would like to admit to realize, oh, this CPU doesn't have a graphics card. So I had to go and fetch another graphics card that I had, not the same one that I have on my gaming PC, because cable management is a pain. So I had another one, an old 760, and I had to get another power supply, because the power supply in the streaming CPU doesn't support that graphics card. I had to have this weird octopus like mess of cables around this little baby computer, because it's a small form CPU, small form motherboard and all that. And it's like updating it, and it's such a pain. Like, I knew all throughout that afternoon of me messing around with computers in the floor of my room, I knew what I had to do. There was never a place where, well, apart from me taking a little while to figure out what I was doing wrong, but like there was never a place where I was like, I have no idea what's going to happen. I need to ask somebody. I didn't even look up anything online. It was just like, okay, I know where I need to go. And even then, it was stressful and a pain in the ass.
If you talk to enthusiasts about a lot of this stuff, then it's like, oh, yeah, it's all just plug and play and whatever. And then like then something goes wrong, and then they're like, oh yeah, you weren't supposed to do that. I'm like, I don't even know to ask about that. What the fuck? like you don't even. It's stressful because you don't even know what basics to ask about to even begin to know everything that they just assume you'll know. So there's like a dangerous thing there.
Yeah.
But also, like, I always know it's going to go wrong at the worst possible moment, and I'm just going to panic in the middle of that and make it worse, probably. And for me, what happened was that I was mounting my CPU with the thermal paste already spread, and it's just like, here we go. This is literally like the worst part, where there's a fucking fluid that can just spread through my computer and connect things to each other and short the whole thing. I love that'd be. So like I like fucking sat there and like thought I was quadruple checking every single element of the entire process before I got anything started, because it had to be right. And I get in and it won't fucking, I can't, like the CPU, the fan will not touch the CPU. It will not reach it. And I'm like, why the cooling thing? Why. Like, it won't connect. And I'm like, why can't I reach it? It won't, like, I can't like I'm like, the clamps are touching the clamps, and it's like, but it's not touching the CPU. And I'm like, why is there a gap? And I'm like, how do I close the gap? And I sat there for like 10 minutes, moving it around, awkwardly trying not to get the CPU paste everywhere, and being kind of terrified.
Yeah.
To finally realize that I'd put the fucking bracket on upside down.
Yeah.
The entire bracket was upside down. So
I've been there.
And it was the worst. I hated it.
Yeah.
I've been there, and I've been there with a small form computer that I was talking about. I put the bracket the wrong way around, and then I had to unassemble the whole thing, because it's not as simple as just doing it outside of the computer. I had put the motherboard in already.
So much, and I had to like replace the paste and everything, and it was like, and I just know it's like there's gonna be like a fuck it, I'm do it live moment where there's no one there to help me, and then it's just gonna go horribly wrong, and I'm gonna react the wrong way to it going wrong, and then it did.
You'll be happy to know that thermal paste is non-conductive. Then
I thought that was the whole thing. Fine. Why is that lie to me?
Thermally
it's for heat transfer. Yeah, it's thermal conductive. It's to transfer heat from the CPU to the fan, but it is not like electrically conductive. So you can get it all over the place. You can get that shit pretty much covering your motherboard, and it's fine.
Not all over the place. Don't put it in like the CPU socket, because then
don't put it in sockets. But I'm saying, like, if you get it on a transistor, you're gonna be okay. It's not going to short your computer out.
Yeah. But you did
don't
well.
Stick it in
holes.
Careful. But yeah.
Don't stick it in holes.
Don't stick it in holes. Some solid advice.
So I messed with thermal paste in that little arrangement that I described before. And yes, I say don't put it in the socket, because that's exactly what I did. I put thermal paste in the socket. Wait, it was a pain in the ass to remove. I managed to do it.
Did you not know?
No, the thing is, like, old thermal paste is really brittle, right? And when you take the old CPU out, there's flakes of it. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be fine. I can clean the CPU after I have it outside of the motherboard. Well, no. The problem is the flake came right out of the CPU as I took it, and right into the socket. And I was looking at it. I knew if I didn't touch it, it wouldn't go in. But then also I knew that vacuum cleaners are really bad. Don't do vacuum cleaners in computers. At least don't do it in blow mode. In suck mode, it's all right, but I didn't want to do that. I went and got an amplifier lens that's like the ones that you mount on a desk for working on like tiny little things, the ones that have a ring of light. And I have one of those, but it's not exactly what I wanted, but it's like a huge lens. And then I got a brush and a pincer, and I did surgery, and there was a little bit of thermal paste that is still in there, but it's working, so I'm fine with it. Because a lot of the CPU pins don't actually do anything, because it's like all retro compatible and things. So I was just like, okay, hopefully this works. It was very little, so little, but it was there.
Something always just goes wrong every time I try to build a computer. Basically, it's a mess. The least eventful one was the time that Marty was like, I'll build your computer. And I was like, here's the kind of stuff I need. And then he like pretty much set it up. But then he accidentally ordered laptop RAM. So I got to go
Oh,
on like an hour-long drive to
classic
go
mistake.
find replacement RAM because the
Classic
RAM that
mistake.
he got didn't work with it. But that was like the
Yes.
chill version. The much worse was what led to that, which is that I ordered a pre-made computer online, and
Hmm.
like it was like a month. I feel like it took like a month or a couple of weeks or something for it to even proceed. And right when it was about to supposed to be shipping, suddenly someone tried logging into my PayPal or something, and like it was like from Russia or some shit, and they didn't succeed because there was like verification or whatever. Like it was like this isn't right, and didn't let them in. But as a result, PayPal panicked and backcharged all of my recent transactions, which led to my
Oh.
Steam account being locked and
Oh.
consequences on PlayStation. And also, even though I called them immediately to be like, oh, can we fix this? Can I redo the charge and everything or whatever? Like they had literally already dismantled and canceled my entire order for the
My
computer, and
God.
so I'd have to start the whole process over again. And
Jesus.
Holy crap.
that's when Marty was like, I could just build the computer, and we did, and then I accepted. But like,
It's funny.
I was so
It's funny.
fucked. I couldn't use my Steam
It's funny.
account for like 2 weeks.
Oh, I think I remember you talking about that. Oh, maybe maybe it wasn't while it was happening. You've mentioned it before, I think.
Probably.
It's funny because every time I've built a computer for a friend, everything goes smoothly. It's never an issue.
It's only
It's
when
always
when you do it.
Yeah, it's my own. It's just like my gaming computer has an issue with the RAM. Like I dare not take it out because it's like the most powerful RAM that is theoretically possible for this motherboard. It's like a second generation Ryzen, so that it's finicky as hell. And I know it works, but every time I mess with it, it stops working. And what happens when the RAM doesn't work is the computer doesn't boot. Like it doesn't do the post. It doesn't go into BIOS. It doesn't go into anything. And so and the problem is if you don't have RAM, it's the worst thing. So that is an issue. Another issue is that every time I mess with my computer cable, with my monitor cables, I always break a freaking display cable. Have you guys had that problem? Display cables just break. I pay like $15 for them.
I think all of my monitors are HDMI. Oh wait, no. Oh no, I've got those weird HDMI looking other. Yeah, I guess DisplayPort is the new thing, huh? Yeah.
Did I misspeak? Did I call
No, I guess
them
you said display cable, and what I thought of was those the old pin ones, the
Sorry,
big boys. But I guess
I
DisplayPort is
mean
what they call them
DisplayPort.
now, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those are good because they are locking, so they don't come out by themselves. You actually need to squeeze them, and they're good. They have more features, but they break every time I mess with it. Like I have like 3 cables already broken, and I keep them. Of course, I keep them. You know, you're gonna throw cables away? What is this? I'm not rich.
There's like the concern of like broken. There's always the concern of which part of the process is broken. Like, can you trust it?
Oh, I think it's the cable because it's like the sleeve itself that sort of breaks, and then the connections inside. Just anytime you move it is like, okay, well, no more connections.
No more connections, only pain.
Yeah.
But
Andrew is the one that has problems with computers as well.
Well, he just always has technical problems. I always get nervous about any of these things in a lot of cases because of the fact that like so many of the people that know what they're doing seem to have way more technical problems than me. So I'm like, that doesn't seem to pay off. Being an enthusiast and complicating everything seems to only make things much worse.
Yes, can confirm. Absolutely.
So like whenever like I hear Effie say something like you should get a RAID drive or something, I'm like, that sounds like a word that makes my life worse when it stops working.
Do you know I have a couple of hard drives set up in RAID configuration? Do you know what happens with that? Do you know what the downside is?
What is the downside? Isn't the RAID configuration where it like tries to back up everything online or something?
No. It's like a copy of itself. The RAID 1 is, I think it is RAID 1. The numbers change.
It's like 2 hard drives essentially.
Yeah, it's like you have 2, but they're doing the thing of 1. So if one of them fails, the other one has the stuff. There's other ways to do things differently depending on your things, but that's like really out there. For home use, all you need is like a copy of itself, and it's fine. But the problem is if your computer So there's two ways of doing it, and the better way is to do it through Windows. It's really simple to set up. Windows has that feature. Um, and you go into disk management and you create like a ghost drive. They call it a certain term. But the problem is if your computer shuts down as unexpectedly, the computer, when you turn it on again, has to go through all of the files to make sure they're still there, because it's basically rebuilding the RAID, even though it's not. It's just checking the files. So for like half an hour, because it's 3 terabyte drives, hard drives, like for half an hour, I can't use them because they're freaking accessing each other. And if the rest of the computer is weird, it's such a pain. And it was one of the reasons why UPS is very important. Don't let your computer shut down unexpectedly. But then crashes and things like that still cause that issue. It's a good thing to have a backup. Because
dude, I had a panic moment not too long ago where just randomly my computer just turned off, like just poof, just black screen, and I'm like, there was no like other indications of any kind of power problem in the room. So I was like, what the fuck caused that? So I just spent the next 2 weeks in a constant state of paranoia, just wondering if it was something was going to happen again, and then nothing ever happened again. And I'm like, what the fuck? What was that one time? This computer's just trying to keep me on my toes.
I don't know what that was.
I have no idea, and I probably never will.
It has happened to me, but usually it's weird things like after, like I usually get a crash, a blue screen of death, or something going on after installing Windows. Like I install Windows, drives are updating, and because it's so much going on, it's normal for things to freak out. Because a blue screen of death where the computer reboots is that's basically hardware and software misbehaving, and it's a normal thing. It's it's not good to have, but it doesn't break anything. It's just something that didn't go right. If it doesn't happen again, it's nice. But after installing Windows, that happens. And I think that happened to me once where the computer, instead of rebooting, just shut down. And I was like, this is not good. And then I turned it on and it worked fine. But yeah, computers are magic, mostly because they're developed under really weird, very inefficient ways, because so many companies working at the same time on the same thing. It didn't used to be like this, by the way. Like back in
my day.
Maybe not in my day, but like before Windows XP, the level to which, like, I hear people say that back then we needed to know all the things like to fix it and debug and know, like a little bit like what Linux, like really hardcore Linux users still do. But back then when you had Windows 98 or 95, you still had to learn a lot of the shortcomings of the software. But a lot of it was just choices by Microsoft. These days our computers are just full of every other, like there's so many companies doing stuff that are on our computers. Things like even having Discord open, you need to have Discord itself doesn't have all the things. Like the basic audio interface with your computer isn't done by Windows. It's all like it's your motherboard that has its own vendor drive, and even that probably has an abstraction layer on top of it. Like audio on Windows particularly is extremely complicated, and that's it's not even talking about then how you connect to the network, because of course you're going to have all sorts of security features, and then Windows delegates a lot of that to external libraries in terms of, well, not security necessarily, but in terms of what Andrew, do you know what Windows uses for networking? That what is it called? It's not V.
I don't know. What do you mean specifically? Like Windows has a lot of networking.
Yeah, but every once in a while we need to update that, and it's the weirdest thing because games don't require that, and not the V redistributable things, because that's the ones that are more to do with the .NET framework.
Steam pop up.
Oh yeah, and then you have Steam, and Steam has all its own library. It's just, yeah, it's a mess.
Computers are always going to be complicated. I think there's always going to be a level. There's going to be stages that people have to get through in order to unlock some features, and also, like anything, like you get the more time you've invested, the more you gain from something, but it also means you're going to get worse things from it because you're going to end up interacting with stuff that you may only have a tangential amount of information about. You know what it can do, but you don't know necessarily how it works structurally. And but you want that benefit. You know it exists and now you want the benefit. Think of like somebody who doesn't know that there's different suspensions for being off-road. But they just, like they know their car can go off-road, but they don't know that it doesn't have to be so bumpy. Well, now that I know it doesn't have to be so bumpy, I'm going to install those new suspensions. Whoa there, Tiger. You don't want to have those suspensions on certain types of terrain or else it doesn't feel good. But you wouldn't know that unless you've had more experience in doing it's this kind of computers are like that in this tier thing. The raids are great. I have a raid, but I have a raid isolated into a NAS drive. So that way, if my computer has any kind of accident, it doesn't affect me. It just
it's almost
there,
like a smaller scale version of the horror of owning a house. And dealing with
basically,
the endless upcropping problems that are that just creep up on you and ruin your life.
Yeah, exactly. And there are, you'll find homeowners who are do-it-themselves people. They're, I will fix it. I'm an electrician, and you'll realize very quickly you are an electrician in name only, but not by trade. And that is a very important distinction when you realize that, like, for instance, I had in my house, someone just left a live wire on the screw. So when I tried to go and unscrew it, I got electrocuted. Cool. That was fun. Which
wacky surprise.
That's not normal. Yeah, that's not how it's supposed to be. But
our house was definitely customized by a DIY person that made choices, and then it keeps having consequences for us.
Yeah, and like that sucks. It's I would recommend not doing that. I get it. It can be affordable and cheap, and some people can't have any other option. But there are fundamental pieces of home ownership that don't. Electricity
is how you die.
And
don't mess with electricity.
Electricity, plumbing, and HVAC. All three of those are not things you can do by yourself. You can't do them. I don't care who you are. You cannot do them well by yourself. You need to be trained as a professional to do them because there are a lot, and I mean a lot, of really important steps that you will just not know are needing to be followed, that you will skip over and cause yourself headache in the future later. There are things that a trained professional will know more about than you could ever do unless it is something that you want to be a trained professional in. And computers, cars, home ownership, all of that is similar to that. There are always going to be levels. Like I do this as a job. So there's a lot of stuff that I know because I need to know how to do it as a job. I don't expect the average person to know a good chunk of the stuff I know. I don't want the average person to know a good chunk of the stuff I know because that would be terrifying. It would be quite problematic to have a lot of people having the knowledge I have, but not, say my job, for example, not having the access to that. And so it becomes complicatedly difficult for me to try to support somebody when they know exactly what's happening too. Like when I'm getting technical support, it's not fun for me or the person giving me technical support because it's like I know enough of what I need to do, but I'm also not in step with the person who's trying to help me. But that's beside the point. The point is that like for me, I experience issues because I keep trying to push myself past the limit that I have. I want to do stuff that I know just enough about that I can kind of take advantage of, but I'm not a professional in the field. Yeah, like I know enough about networking that I could do networking support, but I don't know enough about networking to really get the most out of my router. So like right now I could technically install custom firmware on it, and that gives me full control over every aspect of it. I can control how fast ports are, what kind of speed, like quality of service other applications get on certain devices. I can do a lot. There's a lot of really very important stuff I can do if I knew what I was doing, but I don't. And I want to so badly know how to take advantage of that. If I could just figure out how to do traffic shaping and make it so that certain
it's gotta be like the worst case scenario when you're trying to when you're trying to just fix someone's technical problem is that they're also trying to think, and it's like no, shut up. Don't have ideas and opinions. You're gonna make it all worse.
So for me, my go-to strategy is just to let them do it. I don't give them the access to do it, but I let them think and talk about it. I say like, yeah, okay, tell me what you think we need to do. And I don't listen to them. I just go and like get everything prepped up so that way I can do the fix that I know needs to be happened. But it gives them this opportunity to get it all out of the way. They express like all this knowledge they have and can like gush about like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And I know that because I've done that.
You mean when you're helping?
Yes, when I'm helping.
I thought you were saying that when you're getting help, you're like, blah, 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 let them get out of their system when they try to say things. And I'm like, wait, they're going to help you.
I do. That's what I'm saying, is that I know to do that because I've been that person. I've done that before. I've sat there and tried to help that way. So I know exactly I know exactly the feeling that they're trying to do. I don't do it now. Now I'm just sitting there and I'm like, whatever you're doing, I want to know what you're doing. I don't know what the hell's going on, but you need to teach me what you're doing because I will never talk to you again. I will do it myself next time. Like that's just the way I approach stuff. Is I just want to know how every single thing works, and that way I will never need people again. I can just do it all myself.
I'm very lucky.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky that I also support people in certain areas. It's not technical support though. That's where I'm lucky. Is things that they do try that sort of. I'm gonna tell you all the things that I think it might be, and I understand that it can be annoying. My solution to that, and that's why I'm lucky, is that I say, oh, I see what's going on. I see what's going on. And so they curb immediately that sort of tendency for them to be like, oh, it probably is this or it's something that. If you say early on, you see what's going on, like the moment you have a good grasp of what's going on. But technical support is difficult because you don't see what's going on. A lot of the time it's really difficult.
I'm trying to think. I would say there are definitely some, at least for you, Keith, I think there are some slight things you could be doing to be a bit more, not efficient, but like a lot less stressed about certain stuff. I think there's like some benefit to being a little bit more, especially for storage, like more proactive in certain storage options. But I think
even
the most
more
important
hard drives.
Yes.
It is, yeah. It pretty much is. Yeah. It's more hard drives, but I think, like I've said, I think a NAS is always a good investment. I think there's you don't need something too fancy, just something that can store the data, because it's always good to have a non, like it's always good to have a backup kind of deal, especially in your line of work, for example, where the when you're down, like you can no longer make content, you cannot create the product you need to survive. That is, like, to me, a terrifying thing. Like the two tools I would recommend is like a UPS and a NAS drive. And I think you have a UPS already. I think you have that.
I got a UPS that I thought was fuck. I dropped my controller because I'm fashion soulsing. Well, not soulsing. I'm fashion. I'm dressing up my Rothgar. Because Effie gave me a tank top last week, and I'm like, I need to make a glamour plate, so I've been working on that. Actually, just posted a screenshot in the other server. And I just dropped that while trying to react. So I was like, I need to get a UPS, and because then I'll never have to deal with sudden power outage footage loss again. Which one of the scariest ones was when that happened when I was starting my Iceborne series. And it's like, Monster Hunter is not a game where you can go back. Like, if I lose a cutscene or something, like, that's it. And I almost lost the entire intro of the expansion. And I'm like, I can't just restart the expansion. I'd have to start a new character and play the entire base game again to see the beginning of the expansion, which would have been a bummer. So I would have been just like, those cutscenes are dead to me. That's like the last time I remember it really taking out my footage, like a surprise outage. That was when people were like pressing shit downstairs when I was in the middle of recording. And so I got a UPS. I had a UPS on my wish list, and I got it for Christmas as a result. And I thought I knew what I was supposed to ask for, but then I opened it up and it had like it has like these warnings for like not for high wattage, whatever the fuck, or like these other things that I thought might be bad. And then I mentioned that to somebody, and then I don't remember if it was Effie or Marty who said that I might have gotten the wrong UPS or something when I thought that I knew how to get a UPS, and now I don't know if I have the right UPS. And like the thing I get stressed out about the idea of using the UPS because it makes me think that it's gonna like fuck up my computer or it's gonna fucking go wrong. And of course you read the reviews of UPSs and they're all like, this caught fire. like all the reviews are like a dystopian, yes. Like a cataclysmically bad thing happening when someone tries to use UPS. And I'm like, I've never quite trusted myself enough to commit, so I keep just not, to the point where it's like I've had a UPS just sitting in its box. Not just sitting in its box.
I've been there.
I know I took it out at some point and I charged it, and now it's just sitting somewhere charged.
It's not charged anymore.
Probably not. But like, you're supposed to charge it first or whatever. But like, I just keep not using the UPS, and it hasn't bitten me on the ass yet because I haven't actually lost any footage from power issues for like a year and a half, I think. But the first time I do, it'll be like, I didn't do the UPS finally. But it's like I don't trust it enough.
The good news is that it's really easy to test. All you have to do is just, plug the computer on the UPS and turn it on, and then remove the cable from the wall and see if the computer's, is still working with the UPS on.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the test. But remember that if you're gaming, your PC is going to be drawing a lot more power. That's the big thing.
The idea here is it's just so that he can not lose footage. So basically the idea is like, power went out. Stop. Save.
Oh, but no. If you're gaming, if you're gaming and the UPS doesn't support the power that your computer is drawing, it will shut down immediately. Like it's as if the power went out. Like it's not. Oh no, I'm gonna go away. You don't have an OPS anymore. I mean, you do. It's still working. It just shuts down. So that's the test. It's just, does it shut down? Does it maintain? Because back in the day, they would last for like 2 minutes. They could sustain your computer, but they would just run out of battery very fast. Modern UPSs will last like for 15 minutes, even cheap ones. The problem is always, do they have the power to power your stuff? And yeah, so I've been there of having a UPS unused and having problems with power, and I should connect it, but it's so difficult to remove the cables and all that. And then I'm gonna have to buy another DisplayPort cable because I'm gonna be messing with the cables.
And there's the question of like, how many of the things do I plug into the UPS versus other things that are elsewhere, and I got to trace all these cables to figure out what they're even fucking plugged into in this nightmare behind my desk.
It is a nightmare.
I don't know. I have other things that stress me out more hardware wise, where it's like, let's try to learn my DSLR, because I have a DSLR and I thought it reliably autofocused, but then I think half of my Monster Hunter video I think is me being out of focus because it locked onto something on my in the background instead, and I'm like, whoops. And it's like, in my next video, I don't think not a single person has commented on it, so I don't think anyone noticed besides me. But I was like, what if in my next video I should probably like move the camera for each like chapter of the video and like try to like set up a different shot, and like that means having to figure out how to reliably focus on myself. And one of the most horrible things I've ever heard is, I think H-Bomber Guy in his behind the scenes video was like, get a DSLR that like outlines things that are in focus. And I'm like, fuck, that wasn't an option. I would have liked to think about that before I bought this one, because mine does not outline things that are in focus. And also I'm trying to focus. I'm also trying to focus myself, which means I can't be in the frame and using the DSLR at the same time.
Yeah,
I hate it.
But which one is yours? I thought you had the same as mine. Is it not a Sony A6000?
Let me check. I literally will never remember anything.
I say A, but it's Alpha, actually. Alpha 6000.
Oh, it's in the opposite direction.
Oh. Logistics. Only in Dialog.
I have a Canon Rebel T7i.
Oh.
Canon EOS Rebel T7. Why do you think I had the same thing as you?
Because you mentioned it once, and I thought it was the same, but
no.
I don't think you mentioned it. I think we just were conversing
here's
about
what happened is I thought I was going to totally research DSLRs because I love fucking specs and stuff, and instead I got too stressed out. So I just asked somebody. I just asked another video. Asked shit. What's her name? Attributing credit. Zoe
but
B.
You forgot her name. Oh.
I asked Zoe B what she uses, and then I just bought that one. Her videos look fine, and I just bought the exact model she has.
That's some way to do it.
She's a teacher that became a full-time video essayist when her channel took off in like the last year or so. And I was like, I'll just DM her and ask her exactly what camera she's using, and then I just bought that camera, and then it worked. I'm like, this seems fine.
Wait, which camera did you say it was? You said it was
the Canon EOS Rebel TI T7i.
I thought all EOS had peaking, but that's the name of it. It's like you're peeking into the focus.
I wasn't, because I've been looking at a DSLR myself, and the one I was looking at was also a Canon EOS, but
yeah. But I don't think mine
RP.
I don't think mine features any features where it can like highlight what's in focus. And I'm like, that would be useful because you might be able to see the highlight from a distance when you're the one being in the focus. Because like I want to be able to sit in my chair and look at the rotated little preview screen and tell whether or not I'm in focus. And a tiny screen from across the room, you can't tell which parts of it are blurry from there. Hell, you can barely tell it's focus if you're staring at the screen up close, because it's like the DSLRs have tiny screens. It's like you have to I'm like every time I set up a shot, am I gonna have to fucking like take a test shot, then fucking pop out the SD card and put it on my computer and then look at it there to see if what I think is in focus, and do that for every shot?
Why? You can just hook up the DSLR to your computer.
Right, I need to set up that's what I need to remember to buy. I need to buy my Elgato adapter thingy.
I bought one for me, and it works really well. Somehow works better than the Elgato.
Because that's what I need to do, is to set up to speed up my process. I need to figure out how to do
OBS.
Yeah, I need to set it up for OBS, because I did my last videos via like recording onto a card and everything. But obviously, everything I can do through OBS is just my life being better.
Camlink is expensive though.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
But I've been splurging a bit. My video essay channel's just entirely indulgent. It's my loss leader.
Your loss leader,
yeah. Oh fuck! It's made like, I don't know. I can check, I guess. Has it made money? At one point, I was like, wouldn't it be cool if my channel like gaining monetization made it like algorithmically preferred, and I like saw a spike. I was kind of holding out hope that it would suddenly do better when I got sorry, I'm trying to navigate the dashboard and talk at the same time, and it went
also,
by.
Zoe B has the cutest cat.
Yeah. Let's see, last year, how much muns have I made, hun? I have almost made $10 on my video essay channel.
I was gonna say 50.
Nice.
I've made almost $10. The leader being that the Monster Hunter video has made me almost $5 of that $10. Annihilation has made me 50 cents. I don't know how that works. Wait, what?
Wow, big spender.
Is my Annihilation video claimed or something? Because it says, in that time, Monster Hunter has made 5,400 views, and Annihilation... Oh, wait, no. Right. Because most of Annihilation's views happened before I was monetized, right? So I can't cross-compare. But yeah, that's how it do. So yeah, my video essay has made almost $10 so far, and I've probably spent, like, $2,000 on it or something. But that's Patreon. That's what Patreon's for, is to make it so I can do things even though they don't make money.
And I'm pretty sure even for big video essay channels, it's all Patreon. Even like if you're getting 5 million views a video, like you're a super big channel, right? But you're only making a video every 3 or 4 months. Like, that's not enough. The bills.
Although sometimes it's pretty astonishing. Like I'll look at certain channels that seem to never upload, but I'll look at their social blades and I'll be like, it seems like they haven't uploaded in a fucking lifetime, but also they get more views than me anyway.
Yeah, because the backlog is... The thing with the video essays is that anybody finds your channel to just binge watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They find your channel, they binge watch your stuff, but also like when a video takes off, it just keeps getting views all the time on its own for years.
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing is like when you run a Let's Play channel, any Let's Player will remember like what particular playthrough on their channel just gets a weird number of views. Like they'll like list them off usually, because every now and then you just look at your own profile and you'll sort by most viewed and you're like, huh, yeah, that one's up there now, huh? Like fucking our old channel was like, here's our Hulk video of like making Hulk in Saints Row, and it was disgustingly viewed. It had like 300k views when the rest of our videos had like 10 views.
It's still the highest viewed video on the channel.
Sad Games, yeah. And like for me, it's
314,000 views.
Yeah. For me, it's like Wasteland and Divinity and We Were Here and Samarast of all things. State of Decay 2 multiplayer for some reason. Oberdin's up there. And it's like video essays, every video can be that. Like you'll make thousands of Let's Play videos and it's like a weird anomaly when one of them goes bizarrely well, but like when you make non-spammy content, that's just like what content is. Like it can just take off, or at least that's what it looks like when you look at the successful channels. You're just like, fuck yeah, you regularly upload videos that get more views than you have subscribers, which is like a foreign concept to Let's Players. For a Let's Player, you're
for regulars.
Yeah. For a Let's Player, you're used to getting comments that are like, huh, you have this many subscribers but this many views, dead channel. And it's like, that's what Let's Plays are, bro. That's how the format works. But yeah, when you make completely other kinds of content, you'll get fucking like double the views of your own subscriber count on a regular basis, and you're just like, that's okay, sure. Like fucking like Zoe B made a Pokemon because I still have her tab open from when I was checking. She had to make a Pokemon tier list 2 weeks ago and has 219,000 views, and she only has 145,000 subscribers. Like it just expands beyond your channel. This poem does not exist from 9 months ago. 334,000 views. That's more than double her subscriber count. Like that's just a thing that it just be. Whereas like
it is
so many of my most viewed videos are still barely passing my subscriber count.
Really?
Yeah.
Because wait.
If I sort by most popular, which is like it's 6 videos per row, when I get to the when I get to the end of the 4th row, which is Wasteland 2 Part 2, it already has fewer views than my subscriber count. So by that metric, 23 videos have ever 23 of my videos I've ever uploaded out of 16,573 have a higher viewer count than my subscriber count. Just 23. They're mostly part 1s. Shockingly, because that's how it do. That's why it's also really stupid when somebody's like, oh, the drop off on these videos. So it's like, have you never looked at Let's Plays before, bro? That's what they do. Like, especially since so many of the views are like, oh, this is free on Epic this week. I just wanted to Google it for 2 seconds, and they're not even looking for a Let's Play, but they click on your Let's Play to look at the game for 2 seconds on mute, and that counts as a view. So like yeah, the Wasteland 2 is a part 2. The Wasteland 2 Part 2 is my 24th most viewed video. The other 23 are all part 1, are all part 1s of series. That's just how it do. And then yeah, like the next part will be massively less viewed, and then after like 5 parts, it like plateaus, and that's like what the actual viewership was of people that actually watched the playthrough, as opposed to like browsing and being like, guy talks, I hate that.
I look at my numbers and I see like some of the best series that have like more than 2,000 or 3,000 views per video down until the last 100 episodes or something. I'm like, that did well. And I like to think that all of the series will go there someday. No, they won't.
Yeah.
There's series that nobody watches anymore, either because the games just don't matter or because somebody else does it better.
It can definitely be an experience where you're just like, oh, that thing sure grew when I wasn't looking. Like that's surprise. Like the entire series is now very viewed in a way that I didn't notice until just now. One
of those for me was Sunless Skies. When I was putting it up, nobody was watching. It was, not nobody was watching, but it wasn't like one of the popular series. and I really enjoyed Sunless Skies. It wasn't. It had its downtimes and downsides, but whenever the story was going, whenever there was dialogue and writing, I was like, yeah, this is the good stuff. And I'm really proud of it, honestly, and thinking that, like, at the time I was just doing it, going through the motions of doing a let's play, but then it started to go up after a while. That's good. The good shit. Does it happen to you?
Internet.
Does it happen to you often?
Just the surprise viewership of just something just gets a series just kind of takes off.
Yeah, after the fact.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, State of Decay 2 is one of those for sure. Both State of Decay games just are weirdly evergreen playthroughs that they were not popular when I uploaded them, as far as I can remember, but they just keep going. I think they always have to be a little popular just to have any momentum, but yeah. And it's just a whole thing. What is it? I think you probably have the experience too, where like you look at your dashboard and you look at like your whatever your currently most viewed videos are, and it's like there's usually like a chunk of them that are your new uploaded videos of like, what's popular. There's a section of analytics that's like what has the most views this month. And like a chunk of it's probably your current audience is watching your new videos that you just made. This is what you expect. But then there's always like surprise, like that thing just keeps going. For me, it's Disco Elysium. Like I've just gotta go make season 2, because Disco Elysium it's always in my top 10 videos of ever given month is part 1 of Disco Elysium, like from 3 years ago or 2 years ago.
Damn.
You should do a part 2.
Yeah, it'd be my director's cut playthrough where I'm a horrible fascist, and I'm like, I'm sure happy I don't have to read all this dialogue because it's horrible.
Yeah, I remember.
Voice for me.
I remember when it came out the first time, there were a lot of non-usual gamers playing it just for, they say this game is based. Let's go play Disco Elysium. Mm-hmm. And I saw one particular Twitter user that I think I followed being like, why is everybody saying this game is good? This game is like, this is super fascist. This is really bad. I'm sure they like talked to Endurance or something. Endurance is a terrible skill. Or they were just talking to any of the many fascist characters in the game. But like, I'm sure they were just not understanding I'm sure, but I imagine they were just not understanding the dynamic of a role-playing game where there's a lot of
where they picked that option or something.
or yeah, but like I think the endurance skill in particular, because he's like a Nazi and it's like really, really obvious that is just like blood and soil kind of person. And you pick endurance just because, I'm gonna be buff. And turns out, well, guess what? That aspect of you is the Nazi. Because I didn't sign up for this. But like that's just a thing that the game does. But on the other side,
they're priming you to go meet up with Measurehead.
Yeah. On the other side, there's always room for, like, no game has the perfect discourse, and there's always things that you can criticize Disco Elysium for in regards to its attitude towards politics specifically. But like, I think in that particular case, it was I think what happened was basically they didn't understand. But it's kind of funny to see new people getting into gaming especially in RPGs. It's the hardest. Well, it's not the hardest, but it's such a hard genre to wrap your head around and being like, let's play a game. It's a funny game. This one doesn't even require you to shoot, and then just paradigms and mechanics that are commonplace for so many games. But then, like the mere fact that you're choosing a character and having an experience that is not the same if you choose a different character, that can go fly over people's heads. And it's always funny when AAA games market like things like Madame. What's the one that was made before that?
Until Dawn.
Until Dawn, yeah. Until Dawn is like,
technically Hidden Agenda, but no one remembers that one.
Wait, they did?
Yeah, a Hidden Agenda happened between Until Dawn and Man of Medan. It was really bad.
Oh yeah, nobody remembers that one. But like for a mainstream game, it's good that they say that stuff right at the beginning. Like, people used to playing RPGs are like, yeah, what's new? Your choices affect things. They don't even actually in that game too much, but still, it does, I mean, they affect who dies and who lives. But like, that's such a groundbreaking concept for so many people that are used to playing shooters with story or playing.
Oh yeah, it's back in my experience where I made the wow, DoorDash people are being really, they're getting really uppity. They're like, they must be getting a lot of cons lately. The messages are really being like, I know your exact address and it's in the picture. Like they're stalking me. Like I told the story about how I encountered, I tried playing Fallout after playing Fallout 3. I tried playing Fallout like 1, I think, or something. And like, it was so antithetical. Like between Fallout 1 and like Temple of Elemental Evil, it was so antithetical to anything I knew about RPGs up to that point, which is basically like Fallout 3 and KOTOR and Diablo 2 that like I couldn't comprehend the idea of a CRPG. And it's also like how people like bounce off Myst all the time for being so hard and incomprehensible and stuff like that. It's like, because if you don't even have like a baseline to understand the experience to begin with, then it's just impenetrable. And that's like what all of gaming is at first, but so many of us have been playing video games for so long we don't even remember learning them in the first place.
Yeah.
Whereas you give a non-gamer like Portal, like I've seen like examples of this where, and then you have to like, if you don't nudge them, they won't realize they can turn. They'll like walk around facing one direction and not understand how to leave the tutorial room. Like it's up there with like me not knowing like it's like how I don't know what it's like with tech stuff, with the computer stuff, where it's like I'll make a mistake where I didn't even know to ask the question. Like a non-gamer won't necessarily even know that they can look around. Like they'll just have they might figure out WASD because the game tells them WASD or something, but if it doesn't tell them to mouse look, then they won't even realize that that's how they like turn, and they'll just kind of walk around in the toilet room for an hour and not understand how to leave.
Is that why Halo's the best? Is it teaches you to move your head left and right, up and down to confirm if you like that style of.
There's reasons why that's a good
play.
idea, because there's baseline assumptions that are not safe to make.
I am a big fan of tutorials. Start a new game. Do you want to play the tutorial? Yes or no? Like people, new gamers, they may think no, I don't need it. But then they realize that they don't know how to play the game. They'll go back. They'll play the tutorial. It's fine.
I like the staged tutorials that are also like, have you played this genre before? Okay, I'll just tell you how to play this game, as opposed to like, I'm gonna treat you like you just were born, and it's like there needs to be an in between, because I understand, like I just said, the value, especially a game like Portal, which is like good on ramping. Like that's a good way to teach people video games to an extent, because it's so like non-pressured until until the end where you've learned it. Hopefully, like you can just hang out and trial and error. You can be stuck in one room for 3 hours, and it doesn't really matter. Like it's a decent way to teach first-person games to people. So I understand the value of teaching people how to even play video games at all, but so many video games have no in-between. So it's like, would you like to learn literally nothing about how to play the game whatsoever, or would you like the baby mode where we spend half an hour teaching you how to walk, and then finally it's like, and here's the fucking gambit system? And it's like, okay, first of all, the people that didn't know how to walk 10 minutes ago aren't ready for the gambit system, so this is already a bad tutorial for them. But I had to go through the part about how to walk when I just wanted to hear about the gambit system, which is just me inventing a fucking JRPG and your like mechanic system. Like I'm just making up words, but it's probably a real thing. It's a generic enough title. Like tutorials are a mess. One of these days I'll make a fucking video where I just try to run through the worst tutorials I can find and just explain what's going wrong. So I'll always remember Star Ocean 4 as a game I never played, because I just like launched into like the 1 hour long tutorial and learned this obnoxious combat for an hour of just like, and now we're gonna learn about the flanking and shit. And then like by the time I was done with that, I was exhausted and I didn't want to play the game. And like a year later, I looked up footage of someone playing the game and they're just fucking mashing the attack button. Ultimately, it's like it's not it's like a shallower version of Tails combat, which is shallow in its own right. And it's like, we did not need to teach me like, it's like how like they were essentially like teaching you every fucking edge case. It would be like if Diablo 2 had a tutorial on critical hits. Like, it's like, you don't need to do that. Like, it's one of the worst tutorials I've ever seen, because it was an hour of going down a menu of listed things and be like, I don't know, they put it here, it must be important.
And on the other side, you have the games like Paradox games where I don't think they even have a tutorial. They're just super complex.
I mean, I have at least one video of like maybe Crusader Kings 2 or something, where it's me playing a tutorial for 90 minutes and never finishing it and being like, oh, hope you guys like this Let's Try where I never even learned how to play the game. Bye.
Yeah, 90 minutes doesn't sound like enough to learn how to play a game like that. I didn't even
learn how to play Civ 5, and we did a fucking like 15-hour playthrough of it.
I know I usually learn if I'm gonna like the game if I like learning how to play it, and when it is a game like that. I knew I would like Europa Universalis 4 because it took me like 10 hours to learn all the nooks and crannies of the basic controls, and I liked that. That was a fun 10 hours. So I knew I was gonna like it. But then I knew I wouldn't like Crusader Kings 2 specifically because I didn't like learning about it. But then Crusader Kings 3 is a lot easier actually to learn. It's also a lot simpler, I feel. People in the know say it's not, but I'm not in the know.
I want Twilight Imperium, the video game.
That sounds like it would take forever.
Yeah,
I feel like you'd be sitting at that video game like longer than you would not take
nearly as long as Civ games do. It'd probably be, in fact, Twilight Imperium as a digital game would be faster than the real one, probably. And the real one, it's like 4 to 12 hours, depending on player count and expansion and pace and so on. But like, I like Twilight Imperium a lot, and I would like to be able to play it with friends in a better situation, even if the at the table experience is kind of part of the thing. But like, you know, people play D&D online too. I think it's time to wrap up.
We make do.
Any closing thoughts?
I think.
Or I am.
I think that cats with long whiskers are not as good as cats with short whiskers.
Okay.
They're just not as good.
I think if I could live anywhere with anyone of any time, I would go live in Vietnam with Nixon.
We went to Nixon now. Okay. Wow. You sure he doesn't have like a damage aura?